Good afternoon and welcome to the Eric Clark Activity Center here at Carmel High School. There is snow on the ground, but things are heating up here inside of the Carmel High School Natatorium. Griffin Hadley alongside Mr. Connor Bradley, former swimmer and swim coach here in the state of Indiana. And Connor, we have an exciting one here tonight. We watched some fast swims on Thursday evening, and I'm expecting even more fast swims here this afternoon.
You know, one thing about today is we've got swimmers that are trying to go for either those wins to get them that automatic qualification for state or those state cuts. So we've got swimmers who are suiting up, they're racing fast. I think we're in for some really good events today. Here for day 2 of sectionals.
I couldn't agree more. Let's get things started. This is Carmel Swimming on CHTV.
I don't care who it is. This is a brotherhood. And if we stand strong together, we can't be denied. If one of us go down, we have another, and another, and another that's ready to fight. So let's hit this field and bang them, bang them, bang them. Somebody light me up.
Ready or not, here I come. You can't hide. Ready or not. Ready or not.
We will get things started this afternoon with the girls' 200-yard medley relay. There will be 2 heats in each event here this afternoon, 1 consolation final, and then we will have our sectional championship final, the 8 swimmers or relay teams competing for that sectional championship. However, Connor, the most important thing here today is getting those state cuts, getting that sectional win, and trying to get yourself into the state championship meet next weekend at the IU Natatorium at IUPUI.
Yeah, one thing that we saw on Thursday is a lot of swimmers are just trying to make it through to the next day, making it through to Saturday. And today, Saturday, is really that day where we're going to see swimmers absolutely going for it, trying to get these cuts, and try to swim some personal bests along the way as well.
100%, Connor. We will get things started with Heat 1. There will be 2 teams in Heat 1, 8 in Heat 2. In Lane 4, it will be Maconaquah High School, and in Lane 5, it will be Eastern. On the backstroke leg here, we have Lydia Jones for Maconaquah and Lola Williams for Eastern.
Yeah, one thing you notice looking at Maconaquah's lineup, you have 3 underclassmen on that lineup. And so it's great to get them the second day experience because not a lot of dual meets in the high school regular season are you swimming races in back-to-back days or, you know, on 48 hours rest. And so it's really good to get those practices underway, especially for these underclassmen, so they understand how to rest their body and how to prepare for, you know, lots of fast swimming in a short time.
Diving in for Maconaquah is Lacey Weingardner, a freshman, and for Eastern it is Ella Kantz on the breaststroke. And like you said, these lineups will change on the relays to afford for more rest for these girls. We will see some changes in the next heat, especially for the Carmel Greyhounds and the Noblesville Millers.
Yeah, whenever coaches come up with these lineups, they can list 8 swimmers on their sectional roster, 4 as alternates. And so as we look at this year, especially Griffin, you might be able to speak to this, just the importance of having those alternates in a time where just everything's so uncertain with COVID and people possibly quarantining and things like that.
So for lane 4, diving into the water, it is Annie Eisenberg on the butterfly leg. And for Eastern, it is Cora Kendall, the junior, in lane 5. And like you said, with COVID-19 this year, alternates have a greater importance. 8 names listed on those relays. coaches can make those decisions up to game time. Today we are fortunate enough to have those names in front of us to make sure you guys know who is swimming in the water for each team. As we get set for the freestyle legs, it will be Kaylin Teagarden for Maconaquah and Ella Flannery for Eastern to finish off this first heat of the girls 200 medley relay. And as the freestylers head home on this last leg, we will have parades for the championship final. So we will see the girls walk out from the window end of the pool down to the diving end to make sure the girls are ready to go, to get a little hype in the building because there are no spectators here tonight. So Maconaquah does finish first in 2:12.22, and Eastern finishes second in that first heat in 2:14.59 as we do get set for the girls 200 medley relay championship final. Few food for thought items here, Connor, is that the Carmel girls did qualify for the state championship last year and took away the trophy there in a time of 1:41. The state cut in this event is 1:48.
Yeah, and that's right. And if you look at Carmel's lineup from last year, they're missing only one swimmer. So they're returning three of the swimmers. Meredith Berglund, who swam a butterfly last year, graduated on. And we'll actually see Maggie Love swimming butterfly there in her place on the 200 medley relay today.
Yep. So interesting enough, the medley relay breaststroker Maggie Love, who won the state championship last year, will be swimming the butterfly leg here this afternoon for the Carmel Greyhounds to allow more rest for the two butterflyers for these Carmel Greyhounds. That is Gretchen Luking and Haley Reed, who we will see both of them in the 200 freestyle relay right after this medley relay championship final. So as the girls parade down the side of the pool in lane one, it will be Guerin Catholic, Erica Hunkler on the backstroke, Kate Swack on the breast, Olivia Kunkel on the butterfly, and Erin Renyon on the freestyle. In lane two, it will be the team from Kokomo High School, Macy Record on the backstroke, Janaka Hawkins on the breaststroke, Paige Wilson on the butterfly, and Emily Lucas will be the Kokomo freestyler. In lane three, it is Noblesville High School. Sophie Resner on the backstroke, Sammy Huff, the defending 100 breast state champion, will be on the breaststroke. Caitlin Marshall on the butterfly, and Maya McDonald, the freshman, will be on freestyle. Your defending state champion Carmel Greyhounds will be in lane four. Barrett Berglund on backstroke, McKenna Liskey on breast. Maggie Love will be swimming butterfly, and Colleen Duffy will bring it home on the freestyle. In lane five is Westfield High School. Alexa Boylott is on the backstroke, Annie Spoleto on the breast. Hannah Jones on butterfly, and Macy Hoagland will bring things home on the freestyle. Lane six, Northwestern, Catherine Bath on backstroke, Jalen Harrison on the breaststroke, Ann Boroff on the butterfly, and Lauren Martin on freestyle. Lane seven is Tipton, Juliana Hoover on backstroke, Abigail Hoover on breast, Sophia Walker on butterfly, and Ashlyn Van Kite on the freestyle. And finally, Western High School will be rounding out this heat in lane eight. Gracie Burns on backstroke, Olivia Shoemaker on breast, Anna Moore on butterfly, and Genesis Everling on the freestyle leg. And that wraps up your A final here of the girls 200 medley relay. State cut reads 1:48.43. That is the time you want to be if you want to be swimming at the state meet next weekend. And the sectional record, 1:42.40, set just last year by Barrett Berglund, Maggie Love, Meredith Berglund, and Colleen Duffy. Three of those names are on this team here this afternoon.
Yeah, you're right. And McKenna Liskey moving over to that breaststroke position. Maggie Love heading into the butterfly. I think we'll see some fast swimming there with Carmel in lane four.
So last year, Noblesville and Carmel both qualified for the state championship. Let's see if we get additional teams here today. As you can see right off the bat, Barrett Berglund with exceptional underwaters in lane four.
And I think one thing to note too, as we've talked about before, is that we're heading for these state cut times, but keep in mind is that if not all 32 positions are filled by the 20 sectional champions and anyone who makes the state cuts, the IHSAA will go to invites. And so those next couple swimmers who might be above that state cut, they could get an invite. We'll find that out tomorrow, hopefully around noon, whenever those psych sheets come out for the state championship meet.
You got it, Connor. 5 girls teams were invited from the state of Indiana last year. That means there were 5 additional spots over the state cut last year. and 5 teams were brought to that state meet. So we'll have to see who is close to that state cut time. Most likely, if you're right above it, like a couple tenths or so, you might be seeing yourself in the state meet next week. Maconaquah with a solid 28 split for the Carmel medley, as well as the Noblesville team. That was Sammy Huff with a 28.5 split on the breaststroke leg as our butterflyers entered the water.
Yeah, I think some other teams to note too. If you notice with Tipton, they had a big drop from last year, 8 seconds, and they have all of their swimmers returning even next year. And so it's great to see them putting together a great race here so far, and they've got even more to come next year.
Looks like both Carmel, Noblesville, and Westfield are all on pace here for a state cut. Colleen Duffy for Carmel, Macy Hoagland for Westfield, and Maya McDonald for Noblesville, all trying to get in for that state cut. Colleen Duffy coming home in 1:42.40. They tie the sectional record exactly. And Noblesville comes in at 1:46 under the state cut. Westfield third, just misses at 1:48.90. They will definitely be close to an invite, as the time for invites last year was 1:50.11. To round out the heat, Northwestern finishes 4th at 1:53.30. Tipton finishes 5th, a big time drop for them at 1:57.03. 6th is Kokomo, 1:57.86. 7th is Guerin in lane 1, 2:00.22. And in lane 8, Western, 2:01.30. And so thoughts going into next week, Connor, we will see at least 2 of these teams competing next week for that state championship title, Carmel being one of them, and also Noblesville squeaking under that state cut with a very strong swim at 1:46.39.
Yeah, and I think looking at Westfield here too, if you notice last year in the sectional, they went a 1:53.58. And so to see them have such a big drop in here and being so close to that state cut, we're really rooting for them to hopefully get one of those invites and be able to have another swim next Friday night.
We definitely want to see as many people as possible in that state championship from Sectional 9 here at Carmel High School. And Colleen Duffy coming home in 22.8, a big-time split for the Carmel Greyhounds. Something to note, as the sectional record in the 50 freestyle is 22.72, so going 22.8 there on the freestyle leg is not too shabby here to start the meet.
Yeah, and I think one thing that's great about getting these swims in the medley relay is sometimes relays can be a little bit more relaxed. You have your teammates that are there to help you along. But having a good swim in one of these relays really helps you build some confidence going into the meet later on. Like you said with Colleen, she can look at that swim that she had. She knows she has it in her heading into that 50 free here in a little under an hour.
Yep, 100%. That 50 free can transition into other races. Colleen will see her in the 50 free later today. And we will also see many of these swimmers on these relays later today. So just something to note, we will be taking a 5-minute break in between each event here today to make sure results can be read. We can see who is our sectional champion, who will be moving on to the state meet. So for the 200 medley relay, the official results: 8th place is Western in 2:01.30. 7th is Guerin in 2:00.22. 6th is Kokomo High School, 1:57.86. 5th is Tipton, 1:57.03. 4th is Northwestern in 1:53.30. And Westfield brings home the bronze in 1:48.90. Your next 2 teams will qualify for the state championship meet next week. Noblesville with the silver in 1:46.39 under the state cut time of 1:48.43. And your sectional champion here in 2021 is the Carmel Greyhounds, tying the sectional record in 1:42.40.
Yeah, I think one thing to note, kind of like we were saying earlier too, we saw another great relay split out of freshman Maya McDonald out of Noblesville. She came home in a 24.14 on that relay. She was 25 flat in prelims in her 50 free. And so with that state cut being right there, just under 24, and having such a great swim on that relay, talking about building that confidence, I think we will really see that coming out of those swimmers with those great splits.
Great swim there from Maya McDonald, just a freshman, getting Noblesville under that state cut time. Definitely a positive takeaway there for the Millers in the first event here today, as we get set for this consolation final of the girls 200 freestyle, our first individual event of the afternoon. In our B final in lane 1, it will be Hannah Moore, a freshman from Northwestern, In lane 2 will be Moore's teammate Ashley Ream, a sophomore. Anna Moore will be in lane 3, a sophomore from Western. Isabella Amaya is a sophomore from Westfield. She will be in lane 4. Kate Peck, a sophomore from Westfield, will be in lane 5. Bridget Keller, a freshman from Guerin, will be in lane 6. Madison Baxter, a senior from Northwestern, will be in lane 7. And Hannah Montgomery, a junior from Maconaquah, will round out the heat in lane 8.
Yeah, and I think looking at those prelim results, big drop by freshman from Guerin, Bridget Keller. She came in with a seed of 212, prelims 205. We saw a similar drop in her 500 that we'll see later on, and so she was able to squeak into that A final in the 500, and so you got to think she's feeling good heading into today here.
A big time Thursday session for the freshman from Guerin, Bridget Keller. We'll see her multiple times today in the 200 and the 500 freestyle. We'll see several names here today. We do see some common themes. A lot of swimmers who swim the 200 freestyle will come back and swim the 500 or even the 100 freestyle. Usually freestylers stick to freestyle here at the IHSAA State Championship meet, because in this tournament, there's only a certain amount of events. There's only hundreds of stroke, and there's freestyle events from the 50 to the 500, much different than your typical USA Swimming Club competition. So 2 swimmers to watch in the middle of the pool. That's Isabella Amaya and Kate Peck, your 2 top qualifiers in this consolation final, the Westfield teammates who are just sophomores here tonight.
Yeah, if we actually look our way through this event here, we actually have a very young consolation final here. We have at least 2 freshmen. We've got 4 sophomores. We only have 1 senior in this consolation final. And so, again, talking about building that experience and getting those second swims, that's going to be so helpful as, you know, these freshmen are looking to be sophomores, juniors, seniors. And same for all those underclassmen. Having those second swims are so important in order to build and understand how to rest your body, how to prepare for those second swims with less than 48 hours rest.
We can definitely see some of these swimmers back next year with only 1 senior in this heat. It's pretty incredible to see the progression that these swimmers make each and every year. So Isabella Amaya does lead this field heading into the 100. She flips in a 57.94, and she is followed by Anna Moore from Western, 59.24. Those are the only 2 swimmers under a minute here in the first 100. Kate Peck is 4th in 00.92, and Bridget Keller, the Guerin freshman, is 3rd to the wall at the 100 in 00.46.
Yeah, you know, you were talking about how some of these swimmers, they either have a tendency to swim the 200 with the 100, or they have the tendency to swim the 200 with the 500. And it's interesting how you have those swimmers who, they might classify themselves as a little bit more sprinters, you know, swimming a 100 and making that step up to the 200. Or you have those swimmers who swim the 200, and the 200 feels like a walk in the park compared to that 500. And so you'll see a lot of those who are a little bit more comfortable with those long distance events. They'll have a lot of that closing speed because they know how to pace themselves throughout these events.
We definitely see a lot of closing speed out of our 500 swimmers. They have a little bit of extra gas at the end, and it looks like Bridget Keller is doing just that in lane 6 as she moves her way up to 3rd place. Isabella Amaya is coming into the wall strong here in first. We'll see who touches first, and it is Amaya in 2:02.56. A couple tenths drop there for Amaya. Great swim for the sophomore from Westfield. Second is Anna Moore from Western in 2:03.29. A big drop for Moore. Third is Bridget Keller, dropping more time off of her entry time from the start of the meet. And 4th is Kate Peck from Westfield in lane 5. 5th is Hannah Moore all the way up in lane 1 in 2:10.68. 6th is down in lane 8. That's Hannah Montgomery from Maconaquah. 7th is Ashley Ream. In 8th is Madison Baxter as we get set here for the championship final of the 200 freestyle here at Carmel High School. Who will be named the sectional champion here in 2021? We have the defending sectional champion in Gretchen Luking in this heat, along with many other state qualifiers from last year. Barrett Berglund switched into the 100 free. However, Haley Reed has switched in, and she had a state cut time in prelims. Erin Cummins placed 9th place at state last year. And don't count out Macy Hoagland, 19th at state last year. She's in for revenge here tonight.
Yeah, I think looking at this event, we realistically could see 4, maybe even 5 swimmers get to that state cut or get that invite. We have a very fast sectional here, sectional number 9, and we're going to see some really fast swimming here today in this 200 freestyle. I know you mentioned Macy Hoagland that's there in lane 3. You know, she swam a 156 the other day, but she's got a personal best under 153. And so again, expect her to stay right in there where we have those top seeds in 4, 5, 3, and 6. Expect some fast swimming out of the middle of the pool.
As we get set for the A final of the 200-yard freestyle, in lane 1 it will be Sophie Ressner, a junior from Noblesville. Lane 2 it will be Macy Record, a junior from Kokomo. In lane 3 it is Macy Hoagland, junior from Westfield. Gretchen Luking, the junior from Carmel, the defending state champion in the 200 freestyle, will be in lane 4. Erin Cummins, a sophomore from Carmel, will be in lane 5. Her teammate Haley Reed, a junior, will be in lane 6. Claire Yiki, a senior from Noblesville, will be in lane 7. And her senior teammate from Noblesville, Caroline Santeri, will be in lane 8. And like you said, Connor, we'll definitely want to keep our eyes on the middle of the pool. All 4 swimmers have swam at the state meet before in lanes 3, 4, 5, and 6. Their goal today will definitely be getting under that state cut time of 1:53.26. And the sectional record is 1:47.26, done by none other than Gretchen Luking, the junior from Carmel. She is in lane 4.
You know, like you said, looking at the middle of the pool there, we have those top 4 swimmers who came in with seed times that were all under the state cut of 1:53.26.
So something early to notice about these strokes in the middle of the pool, especially Gretchen Luking and Erin Cummins, extremely relaxed, early high vertical forearm, a very deep catch, and an impressive freestyle from all 4 swimmers in the middle of the pool right now as Gretchen is out extremely fast in a 25.17.
You know, that's one of the things about the 200 freestyle. I would argue that it is the hardest event that is up there on that high school lineup because you basically have just under 2 minutes of just going and putting the pedal to the metal and just going all. You don't really have time to let up all that much, but you still have to find that time of, okay, when am I going to go? And so I have the utmost respect for these 200 freestylers. It is a tough one out there, and you can see that just by the way these tempos and these got the white water from these kicks. I mean, they're pushing it here.
You definitely have to battle in the 200 freestyle. You have to go out fast, and you got to hold on. Your lats are screaming at you. Your quads are screaming at you. The pain is coming through on this third 50, but you got to keep pushing to get to that state cut time. Gretchen Luking is out first in 52, followed by Haley Reed, Erin Cummins, and Macy Hoagland. Haley is having a great swim down there in lane 6. She was the 4th seed after prelims, but she is sitting in 2nd place at the moment. Gretchen Luking touches first at the 150 in 120, Haley Reed in 122, Erin in 123, and Macy Hoagland in 124.
Yeah, one thing you notice if you watch Gretchen swimming, she has a very kick-driven stroke. I mean, she looks very relaxed out in front. There's not a lot of splashing going on with her stroke. She's very efficient out there in the front with her catch, but you can see her legs going. Kick-driven stroke. We love to see that here.
As Gretchen comes in here, it looks like she will definitely be under the state cut time in 1:48.94. Haley Reed is under the state cut, and so is Erin Cummins. Macy Hoagland is just over that state cut in 1:54.90. 5th place is in lane 2, Macy Record for Kokomo. 6th is Claire Yiki down in lane 7 for Noblesville. 7th is Sophie Ressner, also from Noblesville. And 8th, Caroline Santeri from Noblesville is in lane 8 in 2:02.97. So the 3 Carmel Greyhounds all under the state cut of 1:53.26. Gretchen Luking is your unofficial sectional champion in 1:48.94.
One thing to note as we're looking at this, and we'll get you those scores a little bit later on, but keep in mind that team scoring does go out to 16 places. It starts at 20 points, works it down all the way to 1 point for 16th place. We actually already had some scoring take place last night as we had all 11 rounds of diving, and then 2 events scored so far this morning. We'll get you those team scores here at the break.
So like you said, Connor, those team scores will update throughout the afternoon. 20 points for your sectional champion, 17 points for 2nd place, and it goes all the way down to 16th place in that consolation final where you can achieve 1 point for finishing 16th. So with our 5-minute break here as we await for the results of the 200 freestyle, a solid swim from all 3 Carmel Greyhounds there. They will all be competing at the state championships next week at IUPUI at the IU Natatorium. And Gretchen Luking is looking to repeat here as just a junior.
Yeah, and I think one thing that you had mentioned earlier with that 200 medley relay, you know, Gretchen and Haley both have that 100 butterfly later on. So 2 strong butterflyers. Instead of opting to put one of them there in the 200 medley relay, let them be fresh for this 200 freestyle. And so we'll see if anything with that changes heading into Friday night prelims and into Saturday finals next week at the IU Natatorium.
And now we do have the official results of the girls 200 freestyle here at the sectional championships. In 8th place, it is Caroline Santeri from Noblesville. 7th is Sophie Resner from Noblesville. Her teammate Claire Yakey finished 6th in 157.82. Macy Record is 5th in 157.47. Macy Hoagland is 4th in 154.90, just over that cut time of 153.26. We'll see if she gets invited in tomorrow when psych sheets come out. The bronze medalist under the state cut is Erin Cummins in 152.66. Your silver medalist here at the sectional championships is Haley Reed from Carmel in 151.25, a best time for Haley. And your sectional champion is Gretchen Luking from Carmel. Gretchen went a 148.94, just over her sectional record from last year, but still a solid swim from the Carmel Junior as we get set for the 200 individual medley, one of the most fun events here at the sectional championships.
Yeah, one thing that we're going to end up seeing here with this 200 IM.
Guys, I need CHTV content.
Hello, I'm here to bless you with the Instagram plug.
Instagram plug.
So we have the Carmel TV for Instagram, Twitter is CHTV, and then YouTube is CHTV Carmel Television. It's pretty epic.
Because in these social media platforms, you'll discover some amazing interviews, news, and much more that will benefit you. And who knows, you may want to join CHTV. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Commercial breaks here as we have several 5-minute breaks here this afternoon during the sectional championships. And now we will get set for the girls 200 individual medley. And like you were saying, Connor, muscle group switch, stroke switch throughout this race. There's Abigail Hoover, a freshman from Tipton. Reagan Hart, a junior from Noblesville, is in lane 5. Sarah Fife, a sophomore from Noblesville, is in lane 6. Juliana Hoover, sophomore from Tipton, is in lane 7. And Lauren Shane, a senior from Eastern, is in lane 8. So in this heat, we see a pair of Noblesville Millers, as well as many other schools scattered around the heat. It's interesting to look who is in each final, because we will see team points stacking up as this sectional final session continues on here this afternoon.
Yeah, and we'll have some events. We only have 4 events here in this first half, but then that back half of the meet is where we really start to see those points add up. Wherever we have a lot more individual events, but we also have 2 more relays. And remember, those relay points are doubled. So if you're winning a relay, instead of getting the 20 points from an individual event, you're getting 40 points. And so that'll play an important role, especially as 2 of those last 4 events are relays. So big points can come around there at the end.
Relays accounting for double points here today. Some people say swimming's not a team sport, but I would have to disagree, as majority of the points here today are coming from those relays. The 2 Noblesville Millers touch first and second from the back to breast. We have 103.30 for Reagan Hart at the 100 and 103.55 for Sarah Fife. And it is always interesting, Connor, to watch the breaststroke leg. It looks like Abigail Hoover has an extremely good breaststroke here in lane 4.
Yeah, and we know that because, she was a little bit behind those 2 Noblesville swimmers heading into the second 100 of this event, but, she's our top seed. She's in lane 4, and so we know that she has that closing speed, and you can see her catching up, making up a lot of a difference here in this third 50.
It's always fun to spy the breaststrokers here in the 200 IM, because you will have the swimmers that have their strength in the first half. Madeline Crispin in the next heat, extremely talented on the backstroke leg. I'm sure she will be out to a big-time lead. But then you have the breaststrokers like Abigail Hoover here in this heat, who made up a lot of ground on both Reagan Hart and Sarah Fife. It looks like it will be Hart and Hoover battling it out down the stretch for the win here in the consolation final.
Yeah, one thing that you saw was Reagan Hart was breathing to her left on that first 25, so she saw Abigail Hoover there. She knew she was coming, and you could see her turn it on for this last 50, and she pulled away there to get the win there in a 2:16.55 for Reagan Hart out of Noblesville.
Great final split from Hart, 31.73. Hoover comes home in a 32.77 to take second in 2:18.17. Third is Sarah Fife in lane 6 in 2:20.37. Fourth is all the way up in lane 2, Ann Boroff for Northwestern in 2:27.65. In lane 3, Alex Irvin finished 5th in 2:28.66. Sixth is down in lane 8, Lauren Shane from Eastern in 2:33.62. Seventh is in lane 7, Juliana Hoover, and 8th is Emily Lucas up in lane 1 as we get set for the walkout here in the 200 IM.
So one thing to be paying attention to here in this sectional final heat, we already kind of talked about that. We have a lot of breaststrokers here. We have Huff and Liskey, who were both 1-2 in state last year, but we also have Spoleto, Ketchum, and Walker, all who will, Spoleto, Hawkins, and Walker, who are going to be in the breaststroke final a little bit later on. So we have a very breaststroke heavy final here of the 200 IM. And we also have 3 athletes who swam the 200 IM last year at state in Madeline Chrisman, McKenna Liskey, and Sammy Huff. Liskey finished 2nd, Chrisman was 4th, and Sammy Huff finished 11th in state last year in this 200 IM.
And the Carmel Greyhounds switching out the senior Maggie Love into the 50 free. Kira Kask, the sophomore transfer, enters into this event. Maggie Love finished 6th in the 200 IM at state last year, taking her talents to the sprint in the 50 freestyle. As we get set for this 200 IM A final. In lane 1, it will be Janaka Hawkins, a senior from Kokomo. In lane 2, it is Annie Spoleto, the sophomore from Westfield. In lane 3, McKenna Liskey, a junior from Carmel. In lane 4, Madeline Chrisman, senior from Carmel. In lane 5, it is Kira Kask, sophomore from Carmel High School. In lane 6, Sammy Huff, senior from Noblesville. Lane 7 is Ellie Ketchum, junior from Westfield. And in lane 8, freshman from Tipton, Sophia Walker.
You know, we talked about athletes coming from different backgrounds, different strokes. One thing to be paying attention to here is Ketchum. She is a 500 swimmer, so you know that with this 200 IM, this is a short event for her, and so you'll really see her coming home strong. She has that endurance that she has there from that 500 freestyle.
Ketchum down there in lane 7 for Westfield. The 3 Carmel Greyhounds in the middle look like they are out to an early lead here. Madeline Chrisman had a great swim in prelims under the state cut by 3 seconds in a 2:04 as she does touch 2nd here after the fly. Her teammate Kira Kask got her by about 4 100ths there on the first 50 fly. The 3 Carmel Greyhounds are even here on the backstroke as Sammy Huff is 4th. Sammy was 11th at state last year. The Tennessee signee is predominantly a breaststroker, but she does double up here in the 200 IM, something very common we see out of breaststrokers at the state tournament.
Yeah, and Sammy Huff, you know, she swam a 2:11 in prelims the other night, but she's 2:05 last year, and so you know she really has that speed that we'll see here. Now, Griffin, we saw some of those swimmers do that crossover turn. So really, what's the advantage of that crossover turn versus just kind of the touch and go here?
So the crossover turn, a little bit more technical, is almost like a flip turn from back to breast, where you have to make sure you stay on your back and you do not cross the horizontal plane or you will get called for that disqualification. But several of the girls in the middle of the pool electing to go with the crossover turn from back to breast, as it is much quicker as an open turn where you touch with your hand. You got to switch directions and get going on the breaststroke. So Madeline Chrisman does finish 1st after the breaststroke. McKenna Liskey with the for Westfield in 2:17.63, and 8th in this heat was Sophia Walker for Tipton in 2:17.69. So a great heat there in the 200 IM. Some amazing racing, some fast swims from all 3 Carmel swimmers in the middle of the pool, as well as Sammy Huff down there in lane 6 for the Noblesville Millers.
I think it's one thing to see pretty cool out of those 3 Carmel swimmers that all 3 of them, you're right, they made it in that state cut, but by about 4 seconds for each of them. You see all 3 of them are separated by just under a quarter of a second. So they were all right there neck and neck. And so who knows what will happen when we see them next Friday night.
Something to note, Madeline Chrisman was a little bit slower than she was last year in sectional finals. However, she is not in a tech suit just yet. Madeline well under the state cut in prelims. Head coach Chris Plum allowing her to save the suit for the state championship next week. We might see that with a couple other swimmers. We saw it with Gretchen Luking in the 200 free. It looks like Barrett Berglund in warm-up was not suited up. here for the sectional finals.
Yeah, we know with those suits is it does give you an advantage, you know, and that's why athletes use them. But there is also kind of like this mental aspect to it where it does give you a little bit more confidence, like that you know that, hey, it's race time, it's time to go. It's kind of like that special thing when you put on the suit, like you know it's go time. And so we see a number of those athletes utilizing those tech suits today as they're going for those times, going for the best placings that they can possibly get.
The suit does not make the swimmer. The swimmer definitely makes the suit. However, it's almost half mental where you put on that suit. Almost if you squirt the suit with a water bottle, it bounces right off.
Yeah.
You feel faster in the water. You feel like a torpedo when you first dive in. A little bit mental there from the tech suit. However, it does give you that extra boost in the water compared to a regular old polyester practice suit that does soak in a little bit more extra water.
It's been interesting to see how those tech rules have changed over, what, the last 15 years,
Yeah,
really.
it's been really interesting,
I
for
mean,
sure.
You go back to those 08 Olympics. You remember
The full
when it was
body suits.
The full body suits. And
Wrist down to ankle.
oh my goodness! I remember Ian Thorpe. He, you know that? Yeah, you're right. It looked like a wetsuit almost. He was going ankles all the way to the wrists, and you know they started to kind of slowly back the age of the laser in the blue 70s back in the late 2008, 2009 era, and then banned those. They made those restrictions in terms of female suits going from the knees to the shoulders, and men only be able to go from knees to waist.
So now we do have the results, the official results for the girls 200 IM here at the sectional championships. In 8th place, it is Sophia Walker from Tipton in 2:17.69. 7th is Ellie Ketchum from Westfield in 2:17.63. Janaka Hawkins is 6th from Kokomo in 2:16.87. Annie Spoleto for Westfield is 5th in 2:13.46. Sammy Huff is 4th from Noblesville in 2:07.23, just over the state cut time. Kira Kask for Carmel is 3rd in 2:03.31, well under the state cut time. McKenna Liskey is 2nd in 2:03.11. And Madeline Crispin is your 2021 sectional champion in 2:03.08, well under that state cut time of 2:07.02. So we will wait and see if Sammy Huff does get pulled in to the state meet with that 2:07.23. Those psych sheets for the state meet will come out tomorrow, Sunday, and we will see if 4 swimmers from this sectional here at Carmel will make the state championship meet. As we get set for the splash and dash, the quickest event we have to offer here at the sectional championships, it is the girls' 50-yard freestyle.
You know, one thing I love about this 50 freestyle, it feels like these 50 freestyles are just in this endless pursuit of that perfect race. You know, in such a short race and so many little details, it's always trying to chase, like, okay, get that perfect start, that reaction time, talking about the breathing. How often do you breathe? When do you breathe? Sticking that turn. You only got one turn, and so you really got to make sure you're sticking it, get that good push, streamline off the wall, those dolphin kicks. And so, yeah, we're going to see these swimmers here. It's this game of getting those little details just right here in this 50 freestyle.
The start, the turn, the breakout, that transition from kick to swim, all important here in the 50 free. In lane 1, it is Chase Hayes. Lane 2, Lauren Martin. Lane 3, Amelia Field. Lane 4, Ava Friedman. Lane 5, Ashlyn Van Kite. Lane 6, Olivia Bell. Lane 7, Kaylin T. Garden. And lane 8, it is Cassie Hoover.
Yeah, one thing we see here, lots of white water as we're going through this event, because you notice obviously these kicks going so hard, but also with the strokes, it's a little bit different stroke technique, really just trying to get that power to move yourself through the water as fast as possible. Very anaerobic race we have here.
And a late surge from Friedman in lane 4 as she takes the win here in the consolation final in 25:52. Second, just behind Friedman, is Ashlyn Van Kite in 25:61. Third, Amelia Field in lane 3 in 26:05. And something we'll see in this championship heat is these times are super compact and close together. These 50 freestyle races are extremely competitive and extremely fun to watch. 4th was Olivia Bell. 5th, Lauren Martin up in lane 2. 6th, Cassie Hoover. 7th, Kaylin Teagarden. And 8th is Chase Hayes. As we get ready for the walkout here in the girls 50 freestyle. So in our A final, we will have Erica Hunker, the junior from Guerin, in lane 1. Maya McDonald, the freshman from Noblesville. We saw her on that medley relay. We know she's got some speed in lane 2. Lane 3 is your state runner-up from last year as a freshman. She is now returning as a sophomore. It's Megan Chrisman in lane 3 for the Carmel Greyhounds. Her teammate Colleen Duffy is your top seed in lane 4. Lane 5 is Maggie Love, the senior from Carmel High School. Jalen Harrison had a great swim in prelims. She will be in lane 6 for Northwestern. Madison Putt for Westfield, who had an extremely impressive swim for the Shamrocks, is in lane 7. And the senior from Noblesville, Abby Harvey, the Indiana Wesleyan commit, is in lane 8.
Yeah, one thing you noted, Jalen Harrison out of Northwestern with a great prelims. We saw her with a drop here in the 50 free, but she had a big drop in that 100 freestyle. We're going to see her later on. You know, she was, let's see, in that 100 freestyle, she was a 53-1. You know, she'll be one who's eyeing for that state cut time in the 100 free a little bit later on.
Harrison, an impressive swimmer, very versatile, swam the breaststroke for Northwestern on the medley relay, swims the 50 free and the 100 free individually. So extremely impressive there from the Northwestern junior. I would say keep your eyes on the middle of the pool here. However, this heat is separated by about a second and a half, first to eighth. So we will see a lot of white water throughout the entire pool here this afternoon in this 50-yard freestyle. Something to note, all 3 Carmel Greyhounds in prelims achieved the state cut time of 23:97. The sectional record is a blazing 22:72 set by Amy Bilquist back in 2015. The former Cal Bear won the state title that year.
Looked like we had a great start out of lane 3 there with Megan Chrisman.
Colleen Duffy out to the early lead. We will see these girls take 0, 1, maybe 2 breaths here as Megan Chrisman had an exceptional turn out in lane 3. It looks like it is Duffy and Chrisman coming down to the wire here in the girls 50 free. Who will it be? It looks like it is Chrisman in a blazing fast best time in 22:81. Colleen Duffy goes a best time in 23:06. Maggie Love also best time 23:68. She's under the state cut. And Jalen Harrison, a great swim in lane 6, is 4th in 24:32, just over that state cut time. 5th place, like we said, it's really hard to predict. Erica Hunkler finishes 5th
out of
in lane 1,
24:56.
6th is right next door in lane 2, Maya McDonald. 7th is down in lane 8, Abby Harvey. And Madison Putt finishes 8th for Westfield down in lane 7. Man, that is definitely one of my favorite races. Less than 25 seconds there across the pool, and some pretty solid swims there from the Carmel Greyhounds. 3 best times here in sectionals.
Yeah, and you talked about that sectional record from Amy Bilquist. It's one of the longest standing sectional records we have here. It's from 2015, but Megan Chrisman coming within a 10th of that sectional record, 22:81. Man, that was a swim right there out of lane 3.
Something to note, the Carmel High School record is Amy Bilquist, 22:15. Blazing fast, a state record for Bilquist, as we do have the official results of the 50-yard freestyle. In 8th place, Madison Putt from Westfield, 25:30. 7th, Abby Harvey, the senior from Noblesville, finished in 25 flat. 6th, her Noblesville teammate, Maya McDonald, the freshman, finished in 24:80. Erica Hunkler from Guerin, 24:56, is 5th. Jalen Harrison from Northwestern is 4th in 24:32. 3rd is Maggie Love under the state cut time in 23:68. 2nd is Colleen Duffy, the Carmel senior, in 23:06. And 1st place is Megan Chrisman, 22:81. And something to note, last year from the state championships is that in the girls 50 freestyle, a senior won that event in around 22:09. Megan Chrisman going 22:8 here in the sectional finals, getting ready to fight for that state championship against her teammate Colleen Duffy when we get to state next weekend at IUPUI.
Yeah, and you're right. In the 50 freestyle, it's one of those events like we were talking about, that pursuit of that, having all those details just right. And so we're really, rooting for anyone coming out of sectional 9 here that heads to state. But anything can happen in those prelims. I mean, you look at state results, and you have 1 through 16 that is separated by just a few, maybe a little over a second. So looking at 50 free results from last year, Megan Chrisman, like we said, was 2nd place at state last year, 22:99, just 2 100ths behind Elizabeth Broshears out of Evansville Wrights Memorial. Now, one thing is Broshears did graduate.
She is a freshman at IU currently, yep.
Yes, and she finished in a 22:97. So what that means is Megan Chrisman's swim here today would have won state last year by about 0.16
So that is
seconds.
just speculation, obviously.
Just speculation.
But it is great confidence for the swimmers here at sectionals when you can get down to those best times here, especially in high school pools. IU Natatorium downtown, known as a fast pool, and here at Carmel High School, a fast pool as well. However, sorry, we were looking down at head coach of Carmel High School, Chris Plum, all smiles here after the 50-yard freestyle. We will get you team scores here as we are taking a 20-minute break. In 10th place, it is Eastern with 23 points. In 9th, it is Western with 32. 8th is Maconaquah with 35 points. 7th, Guerin Catholic with 44 points. 6th, Kokomo with 67. And now your top 5 here at the break. Northwestern is 5th with 71. Tipton is 4th with 86. And we have a tie for 2nd place. We're going to have a nail-biter for 2nd place here at sectionals between Noblesville and Westfield. They are both tied at 139. It has been back and forth between those two teams for 2nd place, and the Carmel Greyhounds are leading so far with 251 points. Something to note, in the diving yesterday evening, Carmel had an exceptional showing, not necessarily known as a diving school. However, Elena Hyde, the school record holder in the diving, did take the sectional championship. Darcy Commons finished 2nd. Megan Pfeiffer from Tipton finished 3rd. And Melania Munson, Carmel freshman, finished 4th. So all 3 Carmel Greyhounds are moving on to regionals later this week.
Yeah, so one thing to know about that regionals, that's one thing that diving has that swimming does not. So there's 20 sectionals across the state of Indiana, and what happens is the top 4 divers out of each sectional will advance on to their regional. What we end up seeing is that there's 4 regionals across the state, and so the top 4 from 5 of those sectionals will go into one of the regionals. Those regionals will happen on Tuesday night. And then from Tuesday night, we'll see that the top 8 out of each regional will advance on to state for that state title.
So a different process, obviously, than the swimming. There's 11 dives total for the diving championship. So they go 11 dives in sectionals. The top 4 after those 11 dives move on to regionals. They go 11 more dives in regionals, and like you said, the top 8 from that regional meet will move on to the state championship. There is just 4 regionals opposed to 20 sectionals, so that is why the regionals are allowed to advance more swimmers. So a little bit longer here of a break as we have a break in the action. Usually this would be the diving break here at the sectional championships. All the diving was completed in order to follow social distancing guidelines. We will be right back on CHTV with the rest of the action, beginning with the 100 fly. You're listening to Connor Bradley and Griffin Hadley here at CHTV Carmel Television.
Through.
Welcome back to Carmel High School Television. Griffin Hadley alongside Mr. Connor Bradley here at Carmel Natatorium. And we saw some pretty amazing swims in the first third of the meet. You could call it the first half. We got a lot more events ready to go on the second half. So Connor, what are your overall thoughts based on the first 4 events here this afternoon?
Well, I think I was really impressed to see some personal best times out of all the athletes.
Yes.
You know, really not knowing what we were going to see heading into this year, just with that long extended break with the COVID back in March and through May, especially for some of these athletes. And then just also kind of probably, you know, some reduced practice time,
Most definitely.
reduced meets. And so really giving these athletes a time to just go out there and see what they can do. And so it was really impressive to see how all these athletes responded to such uncertain times with everything going on right now.
And we saw some impressive drops on Thursday night. Some girls going season best from all 10 teams here at the sectional championships. But are there any swims here this afternoon? We saw some more personal bests just here in the last half an hour. Are there any specific swims that stand out to you as pretty incredible swims here?
You know, I think that 50 free that we just saw right there, especially out of Megan Chrisman and out of even Colleen Duffy, such a fast event there and some really good swims as well. You know, I'm looking forward to this second half. We got some great swims coming up. I think the last individual event of the day today, that 100 breaststroke, is going to be the event of the day. It's going to be that one where we have realistically 4 swimmers who will be making that state cut here today.
So like you said, we got an action-packed second half. We will be right back with all of the action here on Carmel High School Television at the Carmel High School Natatorium here inside the historic Eric Clark Activity Center. We will be right back with the 100 fly kicking things off in the second half of the meet. Welcome back to the 2021 Girls IHSAA Sectional Championship here, hosted by Carmel High School. This is one of 20 sectionals in the state of Indiana. All of the athletes here today trying to qualify for the state championship next weekend at the IU Natatorium, downtown Indianapolis. So, to get things started here in the back half of the meet, we have the 100 butterfly. To start out in our consolation final in lane 1, it is Allie Keller, junior from Guerin. Lane 2, it is Erin Boroff, senior from Northwestern. Lane 3, Gracie Burns, a freshman from Western. Lane 4, Catherine Bath, sophomore from Northwestern. Lane 5, Emily Knott, a freshman from Noblesville. Lane 6, Olivia Kunkel, a junior from Guerin. Lane 7, her teammate Erin Rennion, a sophomore. And in lane 8, Cora Kendall, a junior from Eastern. And on Thursday, we saw a variety of different butterfly strokes using that chest press on the kick, making sure those arms pop forward, fly all the way forward to enter the water. Butterfly, one of the most grueling events here that swimming has to offer, but all of these swimmers here in finals are looking extremely strong here early.
Yeah, I think one thing to note is you're kind of talking about that, pressing that chest through, is you really want to press the chest through the shoulders rather than diving through. And whenever we see athletes do that, it helps the rest of their body, their hips, into their feet, following that dolphin motion. Just like those kicks underwater off each wall, we want to see that in their stroke going through to get those strong kicks to help propel them along.
And we have a great race here down the stretch, lane 4 and 5. That's Catherine Bath and Emily Knott. Who will touch first? And it is Emily Knott from Noblesville by 6/100ths of a second over Catherine Bath. Third is Gracie Burns from Western in lane 3 in 104.87. Fourth is Olivia Kunkel from Guerin in 106 flat. Fifth is Ann Boroff in lane 2. Sixth is Erin Rennion. Seventh is Allie Keller from Guerin, and eighth is Cora Kendall from Eastern as we get set here for the championship final of the girls 100 butterfly.
You know, and that's going to be a big 9 points there from Emily Knott out of Noblesville when we're talking about that back and forth between Westfield and Noblesville for that team score, because we see that Westfield has 3 athletes here in this A final of the 100 butterfly, while Noblesville still has 2. So it's really important for Knott to get that win there in that consolation final. Great swim by Emily Knott.
And how about Guerin Catholic there with 3 swimmers in the consolation final of the 100 butterfly, putting all 3 of their swimmers back into finals, definitely picking up some points there in the consolation final.
Yeah, one thing that I noticed about this A final here, we talked about, you know, Westfield having 3 athletes who are swimming here in this A final. All 3 of those Westfield athletes had an improvement from their seed time into their prelim swim. 2 of them actually going from above that 1 minute mark, breaking 1 minute. We even saw Hannah Jones, she just skipped over the whole 59-second mark. She went right into 58.92. And so expect to see some good swims here out of the Noblesville athletes, or the Westfield athletes, and the Noblesville as well.
Skipping 59, because why not?
Why not?
Why not? Go right down to 58. So, in our A final, we have Madison Putt, the junior from Westfield, in lane 2. Hannah Jones, her Westfield teammate. Lane 3, Parker Kurzawa, sophomore from Carmel. Lane 4, Haley Reed achieved the state cut in prelims. She is a junior. In lane 5, Gretchen Luking, junior from Carmel, your 200 free sectional champion, is in lane 5. Caitlin Marshall, a senior from Noblesville, is in lane 6. Alexa Bolat, a sophomore from Westfield, is in lane 7. And Jordan Cooley, a senior from Noblesville, is in lane 8. So something interesting to note, last year there were 3 seniors in this A final of the 100 butterfly. All 3 of those seniors obviously graduating, opening up spots for more swimmers here this afternoon. So it looks like Gretchen Luking had a great start there out of lane 5, joined by her teammate Haley Reed, and also Caitlin Marshall was 15th at state last year. She is in lane 6 for Noblesville.
Yeah, and Caitlin Marshall, she's been 56.6 before, and so you know, expect to see her hanging right in there with those Carmel athletes in lanes 4 and 5 next to her.
It is Gretchen Luking taking the early lead, but Haley Reed not far behind, 25.64 to 25.83. Caitlin Marshall does finish 3rd of the first 50, and Parker Kurzawa is sitting in 4th at the moment as the ladies head home on this last 25 of the 100 butterfly. Haley Reed turning on the jets here late. We'll see who gets to the wall first. The state cut 56.72. And Gretchen and Haley will both be under that cut time. Parker Kurzawa gets the state cut by 1/100th, and Caitlin Marshall is third from Noblesville. She's going to the state championships next week. Connor, we have 4 swimmers out of the A final going to state next week in exceptional heat in the 100 butterfly.
You know, and that's really something, because if you look at last year, we ended up seeing that there was 8 invites extended for this 100 butterfly. And so what that means is outside of the 20 state champions, there was only 4 other athletes who made the state cut. We just had 3 athletes here make the state cut outside of the sectional champion. So that's pretty impressive. When we talk about number 9 being a fast sectional, I mean, we saw it right there.
Yeah, when you talk about sectional depth, I mean, that was your first-hand example of depth at the sectional level. Gretchen Luking coming in first at 54.70. Haley Reed just behind her at 54.76. Third place was Caitlin Marshall in 56.64, and Parker Kurzawa was fourth under that state cut time of 56.71. Those are our unofficial results of the ladies who were under that state cut. We'll have all of the official results from that A final once they are loaded up onto our scoreboard.
You know, you and Will talked about this on Thursday night. The state prelims next Friday is going to be split, you know, between a 12 o'clock session and the 5 p.m. session. But the thing is these athletes, they're going to be seeing each other from this sectional again. And so we're going to see that, you know, Parker and Haley, Gretchen and Caitlin, they're all going to be in that same session together, maybe even same heats. They might be swimming right next to each other once again.
That noon session, yep.
Yeah.
So like you said, a big-time change for these athletes with 2 prelim sessions to increase social distancing to ensure that we can keep 32 athletes in each event. But it will be interesting to see the competitive advantages and disadvantages of having these sectionals split. So, like you said, 4 swimmers in this sectional 9 will be in the same session. So we might see out of the 32, we could see 20 of those swimmers in the 100 butterfly in the noon session, where the other 12 could be in the 5 o'clock session. It'll be interesting to see, because both of those sessions will obviously occur at a faster pace than in past years, where you have all 32 swimmers in every single event, 4 heats of everything, where it takes much longer than just the typical 2-session format that we're seeing this year, which has kind of been established as new normal. So now we have the official results of the girls' 100-yard butterfly. In 8th place, it is a Noblesville Miller, Jordan Cooley, in 1:00:89. Madison Putt, 7th from Westfield, finished in 1:00:26. Alexa Bolat, her Westfield teammate, finished 6th in 59.27. Hannah Jones finished 5th for Westfield in 59.16. Parker Kurzawa finished 4th. However, she made that state cut time. She has to be happy with that personal best. 3rd is Caitlin Marshall from Noblesville in 56.64. Haley Reed is 2nd for Carmel High School in 54.76, and just 6/100ths faster in 54.70 is Gretchen Luking, your 2021 sectional champion here this afternoon. Gretchen, a 2-time sectional champion already here on Saturday afternoon.
You know, we saw a personal best there, big personal best by Parker Kurzawa. Personal best before 57.28. So dropping down, getting under that 57-second barrier. Good swim, great swim out of all those athletes here. That 100 butterfly, that's an event. That's a tough one.
I would have to agree. Your core is on fire after the 100 butterfly. Something we always notice in butterfly, and a little bit later in the backstroke, something Will touched on when he was with me on Thursday, is that those underwaters and short course yards are extremely important. So we'll see a lot of underwater swimming in the fly and the backstroke. And what's very interesting in this 100 freestyle is some of these swimmers turn to their underwaters in the yards format to make sure they can save energy going into their actual stroke portion of the race.
You know, for me as an athlete, it was really the 100 butterfly that taught me to really push those underwaters, but that was more because I just wanted to spend as little time as possible swimming butterflies. So
I think that is a common theme for swimmers all across the country, especially in that 200 butterfly as we go into USA Swimming events, trying to stay underwater as long as possible. As we get set for the girls' 100-yard freestyle, one of my personal favorites here at the state championship tournament. So in our consolation final here this afternoon, we will have Cassie Hoover in lane 1, senior from Tipton. Lane 2, Elizabeth Marti, freshman from Westfield. Lane 3 is Amelia Field, freshman from Noblesville. Lane 4, Ava Friedman, a junior from Westfield, is your top seed in this consolation heat. Ashlyn Van Kite is in 5, a junior from Tipton. Abby Harvey, a senior from Noblesville, is in 6. Lauren Martin, sophomore from Northwestern, is in 7, and Paige Wilson, a sophomore from Kokomo, is in lane 8.
You know, the 100 free is one of those events too where, you know, we really got to start having more of those discussions about breathing patterns. You know, in the 50 free, it's really, all right, let's breathe as little as possible. And we talk very anaerobic, but you know, if you try to hold your breath for that whole first 50 of 100, you're in trouble that second.
You got to
50.
get some air. 100% you got to get some air in this 100.
So you'll see some of the athletes, they'll utilize some sort of breathing pattern. Maybe they're breathing every 4, maybe every 6 or something. We also see some athletes who they feel comfortable enough with their stroke, and they make sure that their breathing is balanced so that they can breathe every single stroke cycle. Maybe it's always to their left, always to their right. Getting that oxygen early and often to have a great swim.
Looks like Abby Harvey was to an extremely fast start for Noblesville down in lane 6. The Indiana Wesleyan signee for both swimming and softball is looking like she is going to take this consolation heat. She was in the A final of the 50 free, and she does touch first in 55:29, 2 seconds faster than Thursday night. An exceptional swim from Harvey there, the senior Noblesville Miller. In second, it is Ava Friedman up in lane 4 for Westfield in 55:74. Third is Ashlyn Van Kite for Tipton and in lane 5. Fourth is Amelia Field. Fifth is Elizabeth Marti. Sixth is Lauren Martin, followed by Cassie Hoover and Paige Wilson. As we get set for the championship final of the 100 free, we will have a new champion this year. Gretchen Luking took home the title last year, switched over to butterfly, and we have 3 Carmel sophomores as well as Macy Hoagland going for this sectional championship here today.
Yeah, and like we talked before, Jalen Harrison is one not to overlook. Right there, 53.17 the other night.
A
Thursday
great
night.
swim from Harrison, you're right.
You know, and that state cut 52.24, but again, we got to keep in mind, tomorrow we'll learn about these invites. There was 8 invites last year in the 100 freestyle as well. A 52.92 got invited. Now again, we're not saying that anything is set in stone. It depends on how the rest of the state swims. However, you got to think, we've got races within races here. You know, every single position matters, especially when you're toward the top of these heats, especially when we consider who might get those invites, filling up those positions to get to 32 swims at the state.
Definitely something to think about, as the 100 freestyle is one of the toughest state cuts at 52.2. And now the lane assignments for your A final. Macy Record, a junior from Kokomo, is in lane 1. Macy Hoagland, we saw her in the 200 freestyle. Junior from Westfield is in lane 2. Kira Kask is in lane 3, sophomore from Carmel, already qualified for state in the 200 IM. Barrett Berglund, a sophomore from Carmel, is in lane 4. She is your top qualifier. Lane 5, Megan Crispin. She is your sectional champion in the 50 free. She will be in lane 5 for Carmel. Jalen Harrison, we saw her in the 50 free. She's had some exceptional swims this weekend for Northwestern. She is in lane 6. Erica Hunkler squeezed into the top 5 in the 50 free. She is in lane 7, the junior from Guerin. Claire Yakey, a senior from Noblesville, wraps up the heat in lane 8. So a very stacked field here in the 100 freestyle. We have Macy Hoagland, who had a great 200 freestyle. We have Kira Kask and Megan Crispin, who have already qualified for state and other events in the first half of the meet. We'll see Barrett Berglund later. She's the defending 100 back state champion. And then we also have Jalen Harrison down in 6, who's had a very, very impressive meet thus far. She is what you call a swimmer on a mission here in sectionals.
Absolutely, and we talked about how you have those athletes who, in that 200 freestyle, they might be stepping down from the 500 or up from the 100. Same thing here. We've got some 200 freestylers. We got some 50 freestylers. Makes for a great event in the 100 free.
And Jalen Harrison definitely going to benefit from being next to Megan Crispin. She has swam at the state championships before. She has been under the state cut before. And using those fast girls next to you help you get to that state cut, as Megan will come in at 50.38. Barrett second, 51.20. Kira Kask gets the state cut in 52.22. And Jalen Harrison just off in 52.93. We'll look to see if she is invited back. It will be close, as last year the slowest time invited back to the top 32 is 52.92. So Harrison will have to play the waiting game tomorrow for those psych sheets to see if she will make the state championship meet next weekend. But there, great swim from Megan Crispin. She's had a great day. 2 best times on the day, and not too shabby from Barrett Berglund either, 51.20 to finish second.
And here we go. We make that jump from the 100 freestyle into the 500 freestyle. The 500 freestyle, really that endurance event that is on this high school lineup.
And now we do have the official results of the girls 100 freestyle. 8th place, Macy Record from Kokomo in 55.19. Claire Yakey finishes 7th for Noblesville in 55.14. Erica Hunkler finishes 6th in 53.89. Macy Hoagland finishes 5th for Westfield in 53.35. Jalen Harrison is 4th from Northwestern, 52.93, just over that state cut time. And Kira Kask slips under the state cut of 52.24, going 52.22 to qualify for state. Barrett Berglund is 2nd in 51.20, and Megan Crispin, the sophomore from Carmel, is your sectional champion in 50.38.
One thing you'll look for is a number of these swimmers will be swimming a little bit later on in those 200 freestyle relays and the 400 freestyle relays. We have those 2 freestyle relays left, and so, you know, these sprinters here from the 100 free, that's their bread and butter. They love those sprint relays, really quick, getting the chance to have those relay exchanges to get a little bit of faster times. So we're looking forward to those 2 relays to sort of wrap up our day later on.
Those 200 and 400 freestyle relays, always exciting. The 200 free relay, you could say, oh, it's 200 yards. It's a little bit longer, but it's 4 girls swimming a 50 freestyle as fast as possible. Usually that race is pretty tight across the field. An exciting one for sure. And then we'll finish it off with my personal favorite, the 400 freestyle relay. A staple here at the IHSAA state tournament. The 400 free relay finishes off the meet after the 100-yard breaststroke. But like you said, Connor, we have the 500 free up next, our distance event. And one of the most exciting races to look at technique and look at strategy, because a lot of training goes into this 500 freestyle, and you can look at the 500 in many different ways.
Yeah, you know, you have some athletes who they have that opening speed, and so they decide to take it out. They really find that rhythm, and they hang on to it throughout that 500. You got other ones who love that closing speed. You know, they want to go out comfortable, feel smooth, and then, you know, you hit that 300 mark, maybe the 350, and then you decide to go. You might surprise those people next to you heading out there, but, you know, sometimes we have those swimmers, it's wild to see, but they might negative split a 500, which
We've seen it. It can be done. And when referencing a negative split, that means the second 250 of the 500 is actually faster than the first. You can see some even splits or even some negative splits in the 500 from these swimmers that are more distance oriented. They might swim the mile in club swimming. And some of these swimmers in the 500 are definitely used to the distance life, swimming lots of threshold and lots of distance in practice to get ready for this swim. There will be counters at the window end to make sure these girls are on track. We will have 20 laps of freestyle in this 500 as we get set for the girls' 500-yard freestyle consolation final. In lane 1, it will be Lydia Jones, senior from Maconaquah. Lane 2, Madison Baxter, senior from Northwestern. Lane 3, Anna Moore, sophomore from Western High School. Lane 4 is Reagan Hart, your top qualifier in this heat, junior from Noblesville. Katie Kramer, a junior from Noblesville, is in lane 5. Hannah Moore, freshman from Northwestern, is in lane 6. We saw Hannah Montgomery earlier in the 200 freestyle. The junior from Maconaquah is in lane 7. And Lauren Shane closes out this heat in lane 8, the senior from Eastern.
So, you know, Griffin, you're talking a little bit about, you know, the practice. This is really one of those events, you're right, you have to strategize. There's some of those other events, you know, you think about the shorter distance events, in some ways the strategy is, hey, get out there and swim fast, right? Same thing with the 500, but talk me through what that might look like at a practice. Like, how do you take an event, 500 yards, where it's a good number of minutes, how do you practice that?
Yeah, so a lot of these girls are going to be doing a lot more than 500 yards in practice, and might even do several reps of the 500 freestyle. It really depends on the type of swimmer. Like you said, some of these girls go from the 500 down to the 200, maybe even down to the 100. And then some of these swimmers in club during the club season, which is usually from about February to August after this state championship wraps up. Some of them swim the mile or even the 1500, which is the mile long course meters. So those swimmers even swim more distance at practice. But like you said, there's many different ways to look at this race. You can look at it as 5 100s. Maybe you want to descend those 100s, your speeds to get a little bit faster. You can look at it as 2 250s, maybe bring in your legs at the end of that race. But really in practice, these girls are thinking about what pace they want to be hitting every 50 or every 100. You see several of these swimmers over on the other side of the pool here at Carmel High School Natatorium. They get warmed up with their coaches, and their coaches have their stopwatches because they like to do what you call 500 or even 200 pace. These girls like to get ready to go, fine-tuned for these races, because it's easy to get too comfortable. And if you get too comfortable at a pace that is a little bit slower than your goal time, you're not going to be super happy with your final result, because when a race is 20 laps long, it is extremely difficult to find out exactly where you are in the span of that race. There is no timer on the side telling you where you are in this race. Usually in practice, you can see those red clocks on the side of the pool. Any swim fans out there that were foremost swimmers know what I'm talking about when referencing pace clocks. But like you said, Connor, a lot of training goes into this one, more than others. Obviously, you have to train up for every single race, but the 500 definitely one where strategy is crucial.
Yeah, now one thing you talk about getting those times, we just saw the Northwestern coach give a little, just say something to the counter over there in lane 6 for Hannah Moore. He was telling her what to do with the counter. So sometimes what those athletes who are counting at that window end for the athletes will do is they'll either maybe sway the counter back and forth, or they'll go up and down with it to give these clues. Maybe, hey, swaying it back and forth means you're on pace, you're good, or going up and down, you got to speed up. And so you can in some ways give those messages to the athletes to let them know where they are relative to their goal time.
So many different ways to look at this race. Coaches on the side spinning their whistles or their stopwatch to have their swimmers go faster, or maybe they're going the right pace. They stick 2 arms up in the air in a power pose. You're doing the right thing. Stay right where you are. But as we check in at around the 250 mark here, it is Reagan Hart for Noblesville leading the pack, but her teammate is riding right next to her hip. Sometimes you can catch a little bit of a draft there, just like you can in running if you stay right by the hip or the legs of the swimmer. So that's what we see Katie Kramer doing there, the 2 teammates swimming this race together. And then up there in lane 3 is Anna Moore. She is sitting in 3rd place right now, but Hannah Moore from Northwestern is in this as well in 4th place. And it is also very interesting to look at breathing patterns in this race. We see both Noblesville swimmers breathing every other stroke, watching each other on the way back to the starting end. But then we also see Anna Moore from Western breathing every 3, keeping her head down a little bit longer, driving those kicks, and keeping her hand out front just a little bit longer in what you call a catch-up freestyle stroke.
Yeah, it's kind of like this active streamline as you're going through, and it's really to also help kind of keep your stroke balanced. If, you know, maybe if you're keeping your head up for your breath too long and you start your catch on that non-breath arm a little early, some athletes have a tendency to drop their elbow a little bit.
Yep.
And you know, the 500 is an event where efficiency is rewarded because, you know, you're swimming for so long, those little things, they add up. You know, if you're taking, 6 stroke cycles per 25 times 20 lengths of the pool, those little things will add up, and they can either help you or maybe if you have a few bad habits, they can hurt you a bit.
And we see in lane 4, Reagan Hart has a little bit more of a higher tempo than her teammate, Katie Kramer, who's a little bit longer with her stroke. And then there's Anna Moore down in 3, who has the longest of those 3 swimmers that are leading this race currently. Now, all these different swimmers have different strategies. The state record holder, Emma Nordine, who is now at Arizona State, had a little bit longer of a stroke. She had an extremely efficient stroke, won the state championship in 4:45, which is a blazing fast time here in the state of Indiana. But like you were saying, Connor, lots of different ways that you can think about this race while you're swimming the race as an athlete. Kick counts, stroke counts, breathing patterns, all things to keep you engaged and not thinking about the fatigue that you are feeling during the race, the pain that sets in at that 300 mark.
Yeah, you get to the end of that race and, it's just a matter of when is this thing over sometimes, but that's really when you have to turn it on, and that's something we're seeing out of Reagan Hart in lane 4. I mean, we've seen her tempo pick up over these last, and she's really picking up right now, giving everything she's got in this last 50 of the event. We heard the bell rang by the official. giving that hint to the swimmer, hey, you're almost there. But yeah, she's really picking up that tempo as she heads into her last 25.
We hear the bell ring. That means last 50 for our lead swimmers here, Reagan Hart and Katie Kramer, the two Noblesville swimmers here, trying to pick up some points for their team. Very important in the team race, trying to get that second place spot over the Westfield Shamrocks. And Reagan Hart does finish first in this race, coming home in a 33.11, about a second faster than the pace she was holding at around 34.2 for the entire race. Katie Kramer is second in 33.58, and third in this consolation heat is Anna Moore in lane 3 at 5:44.67. Fourth is Hannah Moore from Northwestern in 5:50.43. Fifth is Madison Baxter in 5:56.59. Sixth is down there in lane 8. That's Lauren Shane in 6 minutes, .51. Seventh is Hannah Montgomery from Maconaquah, 6:03.33. And eighth is Lydia Jones up in lane 1 for Maconaquah, 6:08.29. As we get set here for our second heat of the 500, the A final here at the sectional championships.
Yeah, one note about that consolation final, man. Great swim out of those Noblesville athletes. We saw Reagan Hart and Katie Kramer finishing in 5:33 and 5:36. Both of them with over 10-second drops off their sea time. So what a 48 hours for those two ladies right there. Big swims, great swims, and you got to feel good about that.
Those ladies rested up, got ready to go for Saturday. Swam a little bit of aerobic training yesterday on Friday, I'm assuming. Nothing too taxing. Getting ready here for the finals on Saturday and laying down a statement for their team, trying to put themselves in a position to take over second place in the team standings.
Absolutely. Now, one thing you kind of talk about that Thursday swim into here, if we look at this A final, what we'll actually notice is that of the 8 swimmers in this A final, 7 of them swam times that were slower than their sea time. Now, kind of the thought process behind that, right, is, you know, swimming 2 500s within 48 hours, I mean, that's a heavy load. Oh my gosh. And on top of your other events, many of these are also 200 freestyle swimmers. And so again, it was a matter of, okay, let's do the work to make sure we make it into that final like we need to. But now, one person to keep an eye on, the one swimmer that did have a best time coming out of that prelims, Bridget Keller. I know we've talked about her before. She had a great swim earlier on today. She had a 4-second drop from her seed into prelims. She's over here in lane 1, so expect to see her keeping an eye on those athletes in the lanes next to her, trying to hang along with them, getting another personal best here today.
Starting at the bottom of your screen in lane 1, Bridget Keller, freshman from Guerin. Big time drop on Thursday in both the 200 and the 500. Like you said, Connor, she will be racing in this A final alongside Ellie Ketchum. Junior from Westfield is in lane 2. Ashley Swingewood, a junior from Carmel, is in lane 3. Erin Cummins, a sophomore from Carmel, is in lane 4. Vivian Wilson, Cummins' sophomore teammate, is in lane 5. Caitlin Marshall, who we just saw in the 100 butterfly, is in lane 6. Isabella Amaya, a sophomore from Westfield, is in lane 7. And Kate Peck, a sophomore from Westfield, is in lane 8. In first impressions off the bat, 3 Westfield Shamrocks, 3 Carmel Greyhounds in this heat.
Absolutely, and one person to keep an eye on, like we said before, and we've said this, you know, earlier in this meet, Caitlin Marshall. She was 5:06 last year, so don't let that prelim swim of 5:20 fool you. She has the speed, and you can see her right there, hanging on, checking out. It was Vivian Wilson right next to her, kind of hanging off the feet there of her. Just keep an eye on those athletes. This is a long race, and so you have to make sure that, you know, if you have a swimmer who's swimming a different strategy than you, you really got to swim your race, especially in this one. You might have an athlete that goes out too fast, and if you try to hang on with them, but, you know, that wasn't your plan, it might come back to bite you later on.
There's only a couple events here on the high school lineup where you can really say you need to swim your own race because you don't know what the rest of the field is going to do. That would probably be the 200 IM and this 500 freestyle. You don't know what these other swimmers are planning to do at the end of the race. Something Chris Plum likes to say to his swimmers, head coach at Carmel High School, is you got to swim your own race and you can't play passive, right? You got to go out for it and you got to do what you know how to do. If you want to have a fast swim, you got to go out fast with the intention of having that fast swim, because you never know if you go out with the heat. You don't know what that pace is being set. You have to set the pace yourself.
Yeah, and it's really one of those things, these coaches sit and talk with these athletes. They discuss strategy, and that's where the trust, that relationship between the athlete and the coach really plays in, saying you have to make sure that, hey, let's stick to the strategy. This is what we discussed. When we know if you're going to stick to this strategy, it's going to pay off. And so let's see how that plays out for these athletes here in this A final of the 500 freestyle.
Vivian Wilson out in 153, an impressive first 200 from the sophomore. Just something to note, the state cut in the 200 freestyle is 153. So Vivian's going for it here this afternoon.
Absolutely. And Vivian was 12th place last year at state with a 5:007. And she had a C time 5:01. And so let's see if she can get a big break here under 5 minutes. And I mean, she is on a roll. She is on a mission early in this 500
and
freestyle.
Something to note is that Vivian Wilson was 5:17 in sectional finals last year. Something very interesting because she was actually 5:06, which is over the state cut. She was 5:17 in sectional prelims. She was 5:06 in sectional finals, and she did not get that state cut last year. She was lucky enough to get pulled in and invited to the state championship. She made the most of it and went and made finals as a seed outside of that top 16. So we know Vivian has it in her to make this state championship meet, and it looks like she's going for the sectional title here this year as a sophomore.
Absolutely, and if you watch Vivian, she has a very comfortable stroke out in front. Whitewater coming from behind, that kick is going strong here.
So Vivian looking really good, and one of the most unique doubles is Vivian Wilson's 500 free into the 100-yard breaststroke, something we don't see every year here at the sectional championships or in the state tournament in general. I can't count very many names of people who have done that double, but Vivian, a very versatile swimmer, is going with the 500, and then we'll see her a little bit later in that extremely exciting race is that 100 breaststroke that we have coming up.
You're right, that is a very unique double, but it is an interesting one, and it's a fast one for Vivian Wilson.
So Vivian
making a move out in lane 6. Caitlin Marshall is moving up into 3rd place, and she is not that far behind Erin Cummins in lane 4, just maybe a body length off, maybe a head above Ashley Swingewood over here in lane 3. Ashley Swingewood, 5:06.90 seed, that swim just 2 weeks ago, and so you know that Ashley is on a mission to get that state cut, which is just about a second under her personal best.
So it looks like Vivian, yes, is way ahead of this field. However, Erin Cummins, Caitlin Marshall, and Ashley Swingewood all have a shot of this state cut time of 5:05. Wilson is 100% gonna get this cut, but we'll see if Marshall, Swingewood, and Cummins can come home on this last 50. Caitlin Marshall sitting at 4:33, Ashley at 4:33, and Erin at 4:31. All of these girls need to close in 32 or better to get this state cut. They have all held around 31s. They should be in good shape coming home as Vivian Wilson comes home in a 4:55, a great best time for her. Erin Cummins is in at 5:02. She will get the state cut. And Ashley Swingewood and Caitlin Marshall both under 5:05. We will have 4 girls out of sectional 9 in the state championship next week.
3 straight years there for Caitlin Marshall, and Caitlin Marshall coming over under her 2018, 2019 500 freestyles. She was 18th place last year, 5:06.61. 2019 5:05.47. So we see a 4:04 here in the sectionals, and so we'll see what Caitlin has next week, looking to even improve further upon that swim.
So Vivian Wilson dropping a big time 4:55 here in prelims, or sectional finals. I always get confused because she will be swimming state prelims with that 4:55 entry time next week. Second was Erin Cummins in lane 4 in 5:02, 3 seconds under the state cut time. Ashley Swingewood and Caitlin Marshall also under that state cut time of 5:05, and we will have your top 8 official results here when they pop up on the scoreboard here at the Carmel High School Natatorium. Got to make sure there's no DQs, no fishy business going on here in the sectional championships.
Yeah, we talk about those events and finishing strong. You see all 4 of those athletes who ended up making that state cut coming home in a 30-point. And that's impressive, right? We saw Ashley Swingewood over here in lane 3. She had like 50 freestyle legs there at the end. She was kicking and giving everything she had, knowing she was so close to getting that getting that state cut.
So we do now have the official results of the girls' 500-yard freestyle. State cut time of 5:05.73 was met by your top four. 8th place, Kate Peck from Westfield, was 5:33.39. 7th was Ellie Ketchum from Westfield in 5:32.85. 6th was Bridget Keller out of lane 1 in 5:31.99. She dropped from her prelim time of 5:32. 5th was Isabella Amaya, the Westfield Shamrock, finished in 5:27.51. 4th, Caitlin Marshall from Noblesville, 5:04.14. We'll see her in the state championship next week. Ashley Swinchwood finishes 3rd for the Carmel Greyhounds in her first sectional final. She makes the state championship in 5:03.74. Erin Cummins finishes 2nd in 5:02.29. She will be getting back to the state championship. And your sectional champion, Vivian Wilson, with a 4:55.88. One of the most impressive swims we've seen here today.
Yeah, and remember, we saw Erin Cummins last year at the state meet get a 3rd place in the 500 freestyle, 4:55.66. And so, you know, she has that sub-5 speed. And I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that coming from Ashley Swinchwood next week as well. There's this different environment there at the IU Natatorium, right? It's that state meet. It's what everyone's been building toward the entire year. And that's where we really start to see athletes just have these amazing times.
IU Natatorium, built for speed, hosted the Olympic trials all the way up until, correct me if I'm wrong, around 2000?
That's correct,
2004?
Yeah.
Somewhere around there. So when you go down there, it's always fun to look at the wall, see those times of the Olympic teams, names like Michael Phelps on the wall down there at IU Natatorium. And we are lucky here in the state of Indiana to have such an amazing facility host our state championships. We're truly blessed to have amazing pools around the state to host our sectionals, as well as our diving regionals, and then obviously our state championship downtown next weekend at the IU Natatorium for the girls, and then 2 weeks following will be the boys state championship.
Yeah, I mean, it really says something where your high school state championship meet is that same pool where we see Olympic trials have happened, NCAA championships have happened, US Opens have happened. You know, I mean, it is a pool that athletes from around the nation, they say, hey, I want to swim at the Nat. And they see that pool, and for these swimmers to have that really kind of in their backyard, it makes for such a unique experience next weekend.
The IU Natatorium definitely being one of the fastest pools in the country, and that's coming from Olympians, national team members, and everything in between. We will be right back on CHTV with the 200 freestyle relay, and we will also have some team scores updates when we return on CHTV. So we just saw the 200 free relay consolation final. Western and Eastern, the two teams competing in that final. Western taking home the W in the consolation in 154.26, and Eastern finishing in second in 156.77 as we get set for the championship final. One of the most exciting races we have here today, the 200 freestyle relay.
It's a fast relay. It's exciting to see, you get your best 50 freestylers together. You say, give me everything you got. You got 2 lengths of the pool. And this is where we really also have to see, we'll be paying attention to these relay exchanges. Swimming's so unique in that with these relay exchanges, you just got to make sure that at some point, while the athlete in the water's hand is touching the wall, you got to have part of your foot touching the block still. But at the same time, once you kind of commit, once you start that wind up, you got to go. And so we really have to see, how do these athletes play out where, okay, I don't want to go too fast where I risk us getting DQ'd, but I also don't want to go too slow where we're losing time on the blocks.
So we will read off the lane assignments here for the girls' 200 freestyle relay. In lane 1, it will be Guerin Catholic High School. Kate Swack, Allie Keller, Fernanda Rios Escobosa, and Meg Szymanski. In lane 2, it will be Tipton High School. Sophia Walker, Abigail Hoover, Casey Hoover, and Ashlyn Van Kite on the anchor leg. Lane 3 will be Noblesville. Abby Harvey, Claire Yakey, Caroline Santeri, and Maya McDonald. Lane 4, Carmel. Megan Chrisman, Maggie Love, McKenna Liskey, and Paris Christie. Lane 5 is Westfield, Annie Spoleto, Madison Putt, Ava Friedman, and Macy Hoagland. Lane 6, Northwestern, Catherine Bath, Lauren Martin, Jalen Harrison in the 3 spot, and Ann Boroff. In lane 7, it's Kokomo, Paige Wilson, Janaka Hawkins, Emily Lucas, and Macy Record. And in lane 8, Maconaquah, Thea Tyra, Lacey Weingartner, Madeline Lorenz, and Hannah Montgomery. And some interesting things to note, a lot of swimmers that we've seen earlier in the meet and some of the fastest freestylers. We saw Abby Harvey in the 50 freestyle, the lead off for Noblesville. Megan Chrisman, the 50 freestyle champion, leads off for Carmel. Macy Hoagland, a very talented distance swimmer, anchors it off for Westfield. And we also see Jalen Harrison in the 3 spot for Northwestern over there in lane 6.
Yeah, you want to pay attention here to lane 3 with Noblesville. Noblesville is returning 3 of the athletes from their 18th place state relay last year, replacing Sophie Resner with Maya McDonald. But guess what? In doing so, they were able to move Resner. They were able to move her to the 200 medley relay and the 400 freestyle relay. And so they've got that depth where they're able to build up these relays. Really what you need is, in order to fill all 3 relays, you need 6 swimmers at the minimum. But you can do more, and we're going to see Noblesville depth playing out here in these relays.
So Carmel and Noblesville both qualified for the state championships last year, and we'll see if they can do so today. And we'll see if Westfield or Northwestern can also add a team to the state championships. Megan Chrisman leads off in 23.3 for Carmel. Abby Harvey leads off in 25.4 for Noblesville, and for Westfield, Annie Spoleto led off in 25.6. So Maggie Love coming in hot for Carmel in 23.6, a great split for her. Noblesville touches in 50.47. That's Claire Yeeke on the 2 spot, and for Westfield, Madison Putt, 25.2 on the 2 leg.
Remember, this time we're looking at here, the state cut, looks like the state cut, incorrect on the board if you're looking at that. The state cut is 139.28, so if you're getting under that 140, you've got a chance even with an invite. And wow, look at that swim out of lane 6. Huge swim there by Jalen Harrison.
It's Jalen Harrison, 23 for the first time ever.
Cow.
High fives from teammates, big smiles for Harrison. So Carmel will come in. Sectional record is 134. It's going to be close. 134.88, 1/10 above the sectional record. They will be going to state. Noblesville finishes in 139.52. 3/10 over the state time. So we'll see if they get invited. Or it is 139.28. So they will be just off. Third is Westfield in 141.17. Fourth is Northwestern in lane 6, 142.93. And we will have the rest of these results when they are made official in the 200 freestyle relay.
Yeah, Noblesville had an 8-point lead over, Westfield had an 8-point lead over Noblesville heading into that event. but Noblesville just getting that win ahead, or getting that second place points ahead of Westfield. And remember, these points in these relays, they count for double. And so that's a big movement in those placing to make sure Noblesville got that victory there against Westfield. And what we'll end up seeing, it looks like
we'll see
updated
Noblesville.
scores.
Is it Noblesville in third? We'll see them creep up on Westfield after that 200 free relay, where Noblesville ended up second and Westfield ended up third.
It looks like Westfield has a six-point advantage over Noblesville. To go ahead and fill you in on the team scores, in 10th we have Eastern with 41 points. We have a tie right now for 8th place, Maconaquah and Western with 62 points apiece. 7th place, Guerin Catholic with 102 points. Not far in front of Guerin Catholic is Kokomo with 105. Tipton in 5th with 122 points. Northwestern, 139 points in 4th. Here we have Westfield and Noblesville. So Noblesville is in 3rd, 266 points. Westfield second, 272 points. 6 points separating those two. And Carmel currently right now in first place with 449 points.
Wow, do we have a nail biter for second place here in the Carmel Sectional. Sectional 9 here of the IHSAA State Tournament. Some great swims in that 200 freestyle relay. And it was extremely fun to see all of those 50 freestylers jump back into the water. Something to note for the Carmel Greyhounds is they did achieve that state cut time without 2 of the swimmers that are most likely going to be on their state final time, or team rather, in Madeline Crispin and Colleen Duffy, who are both in the 100 backstroke, which directly follows this 200 freestyle relay. So Coach Plum electing to put on 2 alternates in either Maggie Love or McKenna Liskey. Whoever wins that 4th spot, we could see Gretchen Luking on that 2 free relay. We never know with this Carmel team with a lot of depth at the 50 freestyle event. So now we do have the 200 freestyle results. 9th is Western High School in 154.26. It looks like we do have a DQ. We'll get back to you on that when it comes to us here in the broadcast booth. 7th is Maconaquah High School in 157.46. 6th is Kokomo in 147.65. Tipton is 5th in 144.39. Northwestern is 4th in 142.93. Westfield is 3rd in 141.17. Second is Noblesville in 139.52. First is Carmel in 134.88. And that DQ in the A final was unfortunately Guerin Catholic. We never like to see a disqualification here in sectional finals. However, my guess is an early takeoff, as it usually is on the relays.
And that's what we're talking about with these relays, is you really have to play that game of when do I go, because once you kind of commit, once your body weight starts carrying you forward off that block, you can't really slow up. You kind of got to go to. You have maybe a few hundredths that you can hold yourself back a little bit. But this is why it's so important. We see these athletes, especially in the weeks leading up to these big meets, they really practice those relay exchanges. Once they have their lineups figured out, they want to make sure they understand, all right, as these athletes are coming to the wall, as the swimmers coming to the wall, kind of what's their stroke pace look like. And it's just as much on the athlete on the block as it is the person in the water. Making sure you're not short stroking into the wall. Make sure you have that long extended stroke so that the person on the block can really predict and know, okay, this is when they're finishing. Let's make sure we have a good exchange here.
Those relay exchanges extremely important. Something to note is that sometimes they're called by their quarters. So sectional prelims is quarter 1, sectional finals quarter 2, state prelims quarter 3, state finals quarter 4. Something we saw there from Carmel is we saw quarter 2 start, so nothing too risky. Wanted to make sure they got their team into the state championship, definitely knowing that their time would be fast enough, and they didn't need to push those exchanges. Something we saw from Guerin is a 4th quarter start over there in lane 1, and unfortunately it ended up in a disqualification for the Guerin Catholic Golden Eagles. So following the 200 freestyle relay is the 100-yard backstroke. Here we are getting set for the consolation final of the 100-yard backstroke. Our lane assignments starting at the bottom of your screen. Paige Wilson in lane 1. Samantha Gardner, Bumgardner in lane 2. Abigail Hoover, lane 3. Olivia Bell, lane 4. Hannah Jones, lane 5. Gracie Burns, lane 6. Juliana Hoover, lane 7. And Genesis Everling wraps up the heat in lane 8 for Western.
You know, in this 100 backstroke is really where you're going to see these athletes start to work those walls. It's just something about it where those dolphin kicks on your back, slightly faster than the dolphin kicks on your stomach like we see in butterfly or freestyle. It's actually why they invented that Lochte rule. You remember that?
The Lochte rule,
Lochte
yes.
rule. Yeah, so for those of you who may not be aware, Ryan Lochte figured out that, hey, I'm faster dolphin kicking on my back than on my stomach. And so he started in his IMs, coming off of his wall, breaststroke to freestyle on his back. And they realized that he was a lot faster on his back. And so they actually created a rule. FINA put a rule in place that says, hey, you have to come off. You can't start your kicks until you're on your stomach for freestyle, because backstroke underwaters are just that much faster.
They are extremely fast and extremely important here in the 100-yard backstroke, as it looks like the top qualifier in this heat, Olivia Bell, is taking a strong lead into the final 25. She will finish first in 102.32. Second is Hannah Jones in lane 5. Yes, that is 103.92, her finishing time. Third is Abigail Hoover in 104.52. Fourth is Gracie Burns from Western in lane 6. Fifth is Samantha Bumgardner. Sixth is Juliana Hoover. Seventh, Genesis Everling. And eighth, Paige Wilson up in lane 1.
So here we go into the A final. Now, one thing to look at as you look at the prelim results, we had 3 athletes who were already under that state cut, but remember, you have to get that state cut time in the finals. But also note, we have 2 other athletes, Alexa Boylat, and we also have Sophie Resner, who have times that are, it's not inconceivable that they're aiming for that state cut time of 57.23. And so we're really gonna see some fast swimming here going out in the 100 backstroke. Now, again, kind of talking a little bit of a difference here with backstroke is, as these athletes, when you're swimming on your back, you're not looking around all that much, and so you get a peek at the competition off of each one of those walls. As you do those flips, you can kind of eyeball around and see where those athletes are relative to you. But other than that, you really got to be thinking about, okay, what's my strategy here? Where am I at on my dolphin kicks? You know, what's my tempo? How am I pushing these walls? And so expect to see, again, as we've seen, some really good swimming out of the middle of the pool here.
Stroke count, kick count, both important in the 100-yard backstroke every single lap, making sure these swimmers are aware of the 15-meter mark, that red buoy in the pool, the far red buoy across from each side of the pool. So, in the 100-yard backstroke, in our A final, lane 1 will be Jordan Cooley, the senior from Noblesville. Lane 2, Alexa Boylat, sophomore from Westfield. Lane 3, Colleen Duffy, senior from Carmel High School. Barrett Berglund, the sophomore from Carmel, is in lane 4. She is your defending state champion. Madeline Crispin, senior from Carmel, is in lane 5. She's your sectional champion in the 200 IM. We have 2 Noblesville teammates in lane 6 and 7, Sophie Resner and Caroline Santeri. And in lane 8, it is Catherine Bath, sophomore from Northwestern. So something to note, Colleen Duffy, Barrett Berglund, and Madeline Crispin all achieving the state cut time in prelims on Thursday night.
As we're looking at these team scores, one thing we want to keep in mind, Noblesville heading into this event was down 6 points, but Noblesville has 3 athletes here in this A final. Westfield saw that they had 2 athletes in the consolation final, 1 in the A final. So already by default, Noblesville has 2 of their athletes getting a few more points just because of the way points are distributed between the A final and the consolation B final.
So Barrett Berglund's out to an early lead over her 2 Carmel teammates, Madeline Crispin and Colleen Duffy. Barrett turns in 26.30, Colleen in 26.82, and Madeline Crispin just behind Colleen Duffy in 26.99. The 3 Carmel backstrokers separating themselves from the field, one of the strongest events here for the Carmel Greyhounds.
Yeah, and one thing you'll notice with a lot of these Carmel swimmers, I know this is something they practice, is how still their heads are swimming this backstroke. You want to make sure that you're not wasting any energy throughout, and especially moving that head around throughout the event.
So Barrett Berglund does finish first in the sectional championship in 53.89. Colleen Duffy is second in 55.23. Madeline Crispin is third in 55.79. All 3 Carmel Greyhounds under the state cut time of 57.23. Sophie Resner, a little bit over that state cut in 58.56, is fourth. We will have all of the official results here when they are given at Carmel High School. Want to make sure, once again, that we have all the disqualifications out of the way, if there are any, just to make sure we don't feed you any false information.
Yeah, you saw down there in lane 2, Alexa Boylat able to sneak in there ahead of Jordan Cooley of Noblesville. And so, again, getting those points, they make the difference. And even just 1 point, we'll see plays in a huge difference at the end of this meet. So this is going to be one, I think, for Noblesville and Westfield especially, that comes down to that last relay, that 400 freestyle relay, where those points are double, big points available out there on the board. And so we'll see how they assemble their relays for that and what we have to wrap up the meet today.
So positive time drops from majority of the field here in the 100 backstroke as we now have our official results. 8th place, Catherine Bath from Northwestern, 101.66. 7th is Caroline Santeri from Noblesville in 101.35. Her Noblesville teammate Jordan Cooley is 6th in 101.17. Alexa Boylott from Westfield is 5th in 59.44. Sophie Resner from Noblesville picks up 4th place, 58.56 for Resner. A great swim when trying to pick up points for those team scorings. The 3 Carmel Greyhounds finish 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Madeline Crispin finishes 3rd in 55.79. Colleen Duffy 2nd, 55.23. And Barrett Berglund is your sectional champion in 53.89.
Now, Griffin, we had talked about this a little bit earlier about these athletes who are swimming doubles. We have Vivian Wilson coming up here, but I don't know if you saw this. Swam, they had a poll out this week, okay? They had a poll that said, which high school event is the toughest double? Now, one thing I want us to keep in mind, this means back-to-back events, and one of them must be a relay, one of them an individual. Which do you think is the toughest?
So, personally, as a swimmer myself, you're looking at 200 medley relay and the 200 free. You're looking at 500 free and the 2 free relay, 2 free relay and the 100 back, or the 100 breaststroke into the 4 free relay at the end of the meet. The way I look at it, I would think that the medley relay into the 200 free is the toughest double if you are swimming that freestyle leg. If you go do a no breath 50 in that medley relay, and then you got to go swim the 200 free, which is, in my opinion, one of the hardest, not the hardest. It's like a mini sprint. It's like a long race compared to the 100, but then you got to sprint the whole thing because if you get behind, you can't get back in it. So I would say medley relay and the 2 free is extremely tough.
You know what, Griffin, I would have to agree with you, but let me tell you what, the people of Swam, the people who took the poll did not. So 40% said they thought the hardest double.
A whopping 40%.
That 500, 200 freestyle double. Now that is a tough one because you're going from the distance into the sprint. Man, you're probably huffing and puffing after that 500 only to jump back in the water and go as fast as you can, holding your breath basically for a whole 50. Now I will say the second place with 29.4%, 100 breast 4 free relay.
Interesting. I would say that is tough. Breaststroke is tough on your legs. Got to go swim 100 freestyle all out. That is tough. On that one, though, if there is a heat of the 400 freestyle in between your breaststroke and your relay, you do have a little bit more time than the other ones. I didn't even think about that 500 free because, personally, for longer events, you think about how much warm down you need, how much cool down time do you need, and on the 500, you need a little bit less than you do on the sprints. Those fast twitch muscle fibers are really going after those sprints, and on those longer swims, it doesn't take as long to wind down after the 500 freestyle. One of my good friends, Jake Mitchell, swam the 500 freestyle into the 200 free relay for the Carmel boys the last couple of years. And something Jake did a really good job of was get his heart rate down immediately. So I know a lot of Carmel swimmers who have done 500 into 200 free relay. Other names like Kendra Bowen did that race, did that double, and they were able to have exceptional 50 frees on the 2 free relay because they were able to handle their heart rate, and that is something that the Carmel Greyhounds practice every single week, going from a tough swim into a fast kick effort with a board or a fast 25 no breath to simulate what that double would be like. So very interesting poll there from Swim.
Yes.
Different opinions from all swimmers, obviously, but a commanding decision there. 500 into the 2 free relay.
I will say our pick of the 200 medley, 200 free, 22.5%. I guess you and I really should have voted in that poll there. Huh?
We should have shown our representation there as we get started here in the girls' 100-yard breaststroke consolation final. In lane 1, Kate Swack for Guerin Catholic. In lane 2, Delaney Howard, junior from Noblesville. In lane 3, Emily Lucas for Kokomo. Lane 4, Alex Irvin. Your top qualifier in this heat is just a freshman from Westfield. Ashley Ream, the sophomore from Northwestern, is in lane 5. Ellie Herzog, a senior from Westfield, is in lane 6. Olivia Shoemaker, junior from Western, is in lane 7. And Aubrey Sparling, a sophomore from Northwestern, is in lane 8. And right away, Alex Irvin, the freshman from Westfield, is having a great first 50, 33-0 out in this race.
You know, and Alex had a huge drop from her C time of 1:16 to a 1:12 in prelims. And the way she's taking this out, we might even see a faster swim here today.
We could, as she chose to go with the strategy of sending it on that first 50 and seeing what she has left on this second one. So her teammate down there in lane 6, Elle Herzog, they're trying to score some points here for the Shamrocks.
Yeah, and Elle Herzog also had a huge drop, 1:16 to a 1:13. I think we've seen that. That's been a common theme for these Westfield swimmers. They've had some huge drops from their C times into these finals.
So Alex Irvin does touch first in 1:12.07. Little bit under her time from prelims. Ellie Herzog from Westfield is second in 1:12.90. Third is Emily Lucas from Kokomo up in lane 3. Fourth is Ashley Ream from Northwestern. Fifth is Delaney Howard from Noblesville. Sixth is Kate Swack from lane 1 from Guerin Catholic. Seventh, Olivia Shoemaker from Western. And eighth is Aubrey Sparling from Northwestern down in lane 8. As we get set from 1-4, one of the most exciting, one of the most anticipated races here, as we could potentially have 3 swimmers from this sectional heat in the A final of the 100 breasts at the state championship final.
It is amazing. And you know what? We have 3 athletes here. Maggie Love, Sammy Huff, McKenna Liskey, all have experience in the A final of the state championship. I mean, Sammy Huff has the best experience. I mean, she won the whole thing.
She won the whole thing. She won the big dance last year.
But you know what? We also have Vivian Wilson, who Vivian had a prelim time here of 1:07.06. But after seeing that 500 freestyle, Vivian Wilson, she is on a mission. And so we're going to see a big swim out of her today, I expect, over there in lane 6.
Vivian is on fire here in this sectional meet. Great 500 from Wilson. We'll see what she has left in the tank here in the 100 breaststroke as we get ready for our lane assignments in the A final of the girls 100-yard breaststroke.
Yeah, we have Hawkins out of Kokomo, Spoleto out of Westfield. Both of them have experience in swimming and having the Saturday swim at sectionals from last year. Hawkins was 7th last year, Spoleto was 10th last year. But they've had big drops in this last year.
Moved into the A final.
I mean, it's gonna be an amazing race. This is the one I've been looking forward to all day. We're gonna be seeing some fast swims.
You can feel the energy in the building. Although there are no spectators, all of the girls are on their feet from Noblesville, from Carmel, from Westfield, from Guerin. You name it, they're ready for this big-time race in the girls' 100-yard breaststroke. It will be Annie Spoleto from Westfield in lane 1, Maya McDonald, the freshman from Noblesville, in lane 2, McKenna Liskey in lane 3 for Carmel, Maggie Love in lane 4 for Carmel, Sammy Huff, your defending state champion, will be in lane 5 for Noblesville. Vivian Wilson, your 500 sectional champion, is in lane 6 for Carmel. Janaka Hawkins for Kokomo is in lane 7, and Sophia Walker for Tipton is in lane 8. And a great start there from Maggie Love in lane 4.
You know, I was talking to Maggie Love earlier this week, and she told me she had a number in her head, 1:02.71. That is a record that is standing there on that Carmel High School record board from Alex Clark from 2014. She's got her eyes on that. As Maggie Love, the senior heading to Purdue, she wants to leave her mark here at Carmel High School. Oh
no
boy.
better birthday present here for Maggie Love than would be a team record here, as she is out in 28.74. She's on a mission here early. Sammy Huff, McKenna Liskey, Vivian Wilson are all in it here early in the girls' 100 breaststroke.
Yeah, we've got these 4 athletes. It would not be surprising to see all 4 of those athletes in the middle of the pool under 1:04, which, I mean, that is fast.
That is quick. Sammy won the state time in 1:02.7 last year. Maggie Love is going for that time here. Clock reads 00, 1:01. Here it is. Team record 1:01.60. A big time swim for Maggie Love. Good enough for the fastest time in the state this year.
So
McKenna Liskey is second in 1:02.88. That was almost faster than what Sammy won in state last year. And Sammy Huff is only 2/10 above her state time. Sammy Huff actually trains for Carmel Swim Club in the offseason, so gives a hug to Maggie in a sectional record by over 2 seconds. That might be the swim of the day here at the sectional championships.
So, you know, I stood here and I said we might see 4 athletes under 1:04. We just saw 4 athletes under 1:03.
And Vivian Wilson coming into the meet, what was her best time? 105, 106? She just went 102.99.
4 athletes under the sectional record. 4 athletes.
Not just the state cut of 105. Not just the sectional record of 103.27. All 4 under the state time of 105.40, but all 4 of them are under the 103 barrier. Only one girl broke 103 in the state championships last year, and we just had 4 do it in sectionals.
You can tell by our reaction here. This is something.
Big.
This is
big in just the sport of swimming. I mean, nobody's broken 102 in the state of Indiana this year. Nobody broke 102 in the state of Indiana last year. Maggie Love just went 101. Maconaquah just went 102. Best time. Sammy Huff was right above her best time. She's going to be ready to go next week. She's going to be fighting for that state championship.
And you know, we're overlooking in let's see, 5th place. In 5th place, we had Maya McDonald. The time she went was actually under the invite time from last year. And she's a freshman. And so, you know, thinking about
we could potentially see 5 swimmers from one sectional in one event, which is pretty incredible. Here are the official results of the 100-yard breaststroke. One of the most exciting races I've seen at a sectional championships in quite a long time. 8th place, Annie Spoleto, 109.38 from Westfield. 7th place, Sophia Walker from Tipton, 107.97. Janaka Hawkins is 6th from Kokomo, and 107.78. 5th place, Maya McDonald, 106.30 in a solid time. Just the rest of this heat, sub 103. 4th place, Vivian Wilson, 102.99, best time. Sammy Huff is 3rd in 102.94. Maconaquah squeeze is under 102.9 for 102.88. Good enough for 2nd place. And your sectional champion, a new Carmel High School record, a new sectional record, and hungry for a state championship, 101.60. That's Maggie Love, and it is her 18th birthday today. Nothing better than a sectional record, a team record, on your birthday here as a senior here at the sectional championships.
Yeah, I know we've been spending a lot of time today talking about those invites. And so again, we said those invites, they're not necessarily guaranteed. However, we're going off just the historical evidence that we have from years before. Like I said, for example, we saw 6 invites last year in the 100 breaststroke, but that changes from year to year. The invites depend on how the rest of the state swims. Again, they're attempting to fill 32 spots. Now, we don't see it often, but we have seen that if they have more than 12 athletes make that state cut beyond the sectional champions, they will take more than 32 athletes and have no invitations. And so we have to wait and see. They're able to compile that data tonight once all of the sectional finals are finished up across the state. And then we'll see those psych sheets come out tomorrow.
We will see those state psych sheets posted by the IHSAA tomorrow after all 20 sectional championships are completed. Lots of smiles down on the deck. Maggie Love's mom over there timing in lane 3. Pretty amazing moment there for the Love family. So we will get set for the 400 freestyle relay. There will be 2 heats, 10 teams, 2 of them in this first heat. So we will have, it looks like Eastern and it looks like Kokomo in this first heat. The swimmers for Eastern in lane 4, Lauren Shane, Ella Kantz, Lola Williams, and Cora Kendall. And for Kokomo, Rachel Hillman, Lily Johnson, Rylan Winnell, and Emily Griggs.
And once this event starts and once they get things finalized from the 100 breaststroke, we will go ahead and give you a score update heading into this last relay. Now keep in mind, this last relay, points count for double. So first place gets 40 instead of 20, and it'll go down from there. I think it goes 40, down to 34, 32, 30, and so on.
So we will be right back for the championship.
Can't be denied. If one of us go down, we have another, and another, and another that's ready to fight. So let's hit this field and bang them, bang them, bang them. Somebody light me up.
Ready or not, here I come. You can't hide.
So as the first heat of the girls 400 free relay wraps up, it is Eastern taking the win in 4:16.48, and just behind Eastern is Kokomo in 4:16.84. A great race there in Heat 1 as we get set for the last race of this afternoon, the 400 freestyle relay.
And heading into this event here, let's go ahead and give you the team scores following the 100 breaststroke. In 10th place, Eastern with 41 points. 9th place, Maconaquah, 62 points. 8th place goes to Western with 71 points. Guerin, 7th place, 83 points. Kokomo in 6th with 125. 143 points for Tipton in 5th. Northwestern, 160 points so far in 4th place. 3rd place, Westfield High School, 329 points. 11 points ahead of Westfield is Noblesville with 340. And Carmel currently with 554 points in 1st place.
So if I do my math correctly, Noblesville had a big time showing that 100 breaststroke to take the lead over Westfield. So it would take a lot for them to take back the 2nd place spot, because in the previous couple of relays, we've seen Carmel, Westfield, and Noblesville all be in the top 3. So they would have to beat Noblesville by 5 or 6 places here, which is, it's not impossible, but it's very unlikely here in the 400 free relay. But last year, Noblesville and Carmel both qualified for state in this 400 free relay. Carmel was the eventual state champions, with both Chrisman sisters, Gretchen Luking and Barrett Berglund. Gretchen and Madeline will both be on this relay here this afternoon. So, in lane 1, it will be Northwestern High School, Madison Baxter, Hannah Moore, Alex Rosales, and Ashley Ream. In lane 2, it will be Western High School, Anna Moore, Chase Hayes, Genesis Everling, and Gracie Burns. Lane 3 is Westfield, Alexa Boylott, Ava Friedman, Hannah Jones, and Isabella Amaya. Lane 4 is your Carmel Greyhounds, Gretchen Luking, Aaron Cummins, Haley Reed, and Madeline Chrisman. Noblesville, Sophie Resner, Claire Yickey, Caitlin Marshall, and Sammy Huff, fresh out of the water. That 100 breast is in lane 5. Guerin Catholic is in 6 with Erica Hunkler, Erin Rennion, Olivia Kunkel, and Bridget Keller. Maconaquah's Hannah Montgomery, Thea Tyra, Lydia Jones, and Kaylin Teagarden are in lane 7. And Tipton is in lane 8 with Juliana Hoover, Catherine Riley, Amelia Servies, and Cassie Hoover. Connor, last race. I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, this is a big one. Once we get the start going, we'll talk a bit more. One thing I want to point out, Noblesville last year, same 4 athletes, same order as they're swimming today.
Wow.
They swam a 3:35.86 in the prelims of state. Now, unfortunately, that was 8 100ths out of getting a second swim.
So close.
So you know these girls are out here. They are hungry. They know how close they were last year. All 4 of them returning. Like I said, same 4 ladies, same relay order. They're ready to go. They're on a mission.
They're definitely on a mission, definitely hungry to get back to that state championship, and obviously trying to get back to the state finals, which is where they missed out on last year, finishing in 17th. Obviously, the top 16 teams qualify for finals at both sectionals and state. So Gretchen Luking off to a fast start here for the Carmel Greyhounds. She'll hand it off to Erin Cummins. So a second quarter safe start there from the Carmel Greyhounds as Erin jumps into the water. Noblesville is in second place currently with, I think that's Claire Yickey in the water, the senior for Noblesville. And then Guerin Catholic, Erica Hunkler had a great first leg. They're currently in 3rd.
Yeah, one thing we're talking about these relays. Carmel, though they're not swimming that relay today, their state winning relay last year, returning all 4 swimmers. And so it'll be interesting to see what Coach Plum decides to do when he splits up his athletes between the 3 different relays, how he wants to organize those throughout the weekend next weekend.
Yeah, it was very interesting because last year Carmel put 2 freshmen on a state championship relay team, ended up going and winning the state title. This year, those freshmen, now sophomores, Gretchen Luking, now turns to a junior, and Madeline Chrisman, the experienced swimmer of the bunch, is a senior. So Noblesville with a very quick start there on the 3rd leg. They are in 2nd. Westfield is in third.
You know, one thing we kind of talk about and one thing we'll notice here, we mentioned that Noblesville's keeping that same order. One thing that is strategic, we not only talk about the athletes who put on a relay, but also the order, exactly. You know, some athletes, they just have a feel for doing relay exchanges off of others. Maybe it's that one athlete feels so much more comfortable with their flat start versus their relay start. And so that's another thing that really comes in strategy-wise. Sometimes you have an athlete who they just respond so well to that adversity. So you're like, we want them going last because if we either got to make up ground, they're the one we want, or if we're ahead and we want them to hang on, they're the one we want. And so you really have to think about how's the best way to piece these relays together.
So a great start there from the senior, Sammy Huff in lane 5. She is in the water for Noblesville on the anchor leg. Carmel and Noblesville a good ways ahead of the rest of the field. They will be the two teams trying for this state cut. So Madeline Chrisman flips with a 50 to go in 2:59.78. And Noblesville will be one to watch here. They are flipping in 3:06.70, the state cut at 3:35.82. Sammy Huff needs to come home in about 29 seconds here to get that state cut. Very doable for the experienced senior.
Keep an eye on this sectional record as well. It could be a close one. 3:26.79.
And Chrisman comes home.
3:26.52, sectional record there for the Carmel Hounds.
So Noblesville finishes in 3:34.07. You can hear the cheers from their sideline. They're going back to the state meet in a time faster than what they finished in state prelims last year, as Westfield finishes third in 3:45.18.
Yeah, that's something you got to feel good about, going faster than you went in sectionals last year, going faster than you went in state last year. You know, that's going to build some confidence over the next week as you head into those state prelims on Friday.
Guerin brings it home for 4th place in lane 6. Western finishes 5th in lane 2. Northwestern 6th in lane 1. 7th is Maconaquah in lane 7. And Tipton 8th in lane 8.
And while results are unofficial, Noblesville sneaking ahead of Westfield in that relay will surely give Noblesville the 2nd place finish in the overall team scoring, barring any possible disqualifications, which we hopefully will not see.
So a great swim there from Carmel and from Noblesville to make it back to the state championship. Always the goal for the head coach to get as many swims into that state championship meet. One of the most important things about the state championship is depth. One of the things Carmel is best at is putting as many swimmers as possible in the state championship meet.
Yeah, and when we really think about team scoring, you know, it is great to be able to win those events and get those points. But, you know, you might get first place, score those 20 points, but if there's another team that has 2 athletes a little bit further down in that A final, they're going to outscore you in that event. And so having that depth, especially at the state championship meet, is important. And again, I know I've said this multiple times today, but when those relays score for double, that's where depth really plays in as well.
Quantity over quality is sometimes the best recipe at the state championship. We will have our official results here in the 400 free relay very soon here at the Carmel High School Natatorium. But looking towards next weekend, we have to address the elephant in the room. Carmel High School with 34 consecutive state championships, going for number 35 next weekend, and they put on a show here. Welcome back to Carmel High School Television. We are here at the Carmel High School Natatorium, wrapping up after an excellent sectional championship meet here in 2021. It's amazing just to see these athletes competing after all they've been through in the past year. It's great to see these ladies hit the water, get to compete against other teams, and advance to the state championship. So we'll start off with the final team scores. So in 10th place, Eastern High School with 67. In 9th, Guerin Catholic with 88. In 8th, Kokomo with 129. In 7th, Maconaquah with 147. Northwestern finishes 6th with 170.5. Western finishes 5th with 191. 4th is Tipton in 199.5. Noblesville 3rd in 275.5. Westfield is 2nd in 372.5. And Carmel is 1st through 558. So it looks like Meet Mobile was not necessarily up to date with those scores, but now they are official on the scoreboard.
Yeah, we might have to get back to you with those points.
Yeah, we might have to check up.
A discrepancy there between the Meet Mobile and
the
what we
Meet
have on the
Mobile and our
scoreboard.
actual scoreboard over here to the right looks to be a little bit different, but we'll see. We'll see if they're corrected. It looks like we have a discrepancy. Noblesville might be in the 2nd spot, and Westfield might be in that bronze medal spot in the team scoring. But we'll look forward to next week's state championships. Obviously, Carmel advancing several swimmers. Westfield will be looking to see some invites if their team members get pulled in. And then Noblesville also advanced several swimmers to the state championship meet.
Absolutely, and like we said, getting those swims through today, getting those state cuts is going to be huge. And again, we won't know what everything looks like until we see the psych sheets tomorrow morning. There might be some of these athletes who walk out of the pool today not sure if they're going to be swimming next weekend, and they might get some great news tomorrow finding out that they do. But again, we won't know until all the rest of those sectionals wrap up. Still some sectionals going on around the state today, as there are 4 to 5 sectionals that actually take place in the central time zone, starting an hour behind everyone else. And so again, we'll have to wait and see.
We'll have to wait and see, play the waiting game. If you don't get that state cut time on Saturday at sectionals, you do have to wait till Sunday until the official psych sheets for the state championship come out. So let's address this Carmel High School team. One of the more impressive stats that I've heard is there's 27 possible swims that you can have in the state championships. Carmel qualifies 27 for 27 swims. Nothing to complain about there.
Yeah, and we talked about how Carmel's really aiming for getting that state championship. And we've used that 4-quarter analogy where you can't necessarily win the game in those first or second quarters, but you can lose it. And so what Carmel was attempting to do is make sure they put themselves in a position to be able to win in that 4th quarter when we're talking about state finals next Saturday. And I think they did a great job of doing just that.
Definitely did a great job. Head coach Chris Plum has to be happy. And something to note, Chris is tied for the most state championship titles ever by a head coach in the state of Indiana in any sport.
Yeah,
He's
that's right.
tied with another Carmel coach with 23 state championships.
Yeah, Chuck Keppen.
Chuck Keppen, the cross country and track coach for Carmel High School. And next week, if Chris does chalk up another win, he will be the winningest coach in high school history, which is pretty cool for the Carmel head coach.
Yeah, it's such a cool thing, but I know, knowing Chris, I mean, he is a team first guy, and so he knows that, you know, this is these athletes putting in some incredible work, and you know what, they've earned all of those state championships we've seen along the way. You know, constantly talking about standing on the shoulders of giants, these ladies knowing the tradition that's come before them years and years before, and knowing that they're attempting to uphold that tradition. And so I think the girls, they take on that responsibility and trying to make sure, hey, I need to do my part and do my role on this team to make sure that we're putting ourselves in the best position to perform well at the state championships.
And a couple final thoughts here, Connor. What is your personal favorite race of the day? What do you think was the most exhilarating finish that we had today here at the sectional finals?
I mean, I think it's hard to argue with anything except that 100 breaststroke.
I agree with you.
It was just something where we knew kind of coming in it was going to be one to watch, and boy, did it deliver. And that was such a fun race to watch. Seeing those athletes go so incredibly quick, seeing those 4 swimmers get under that state time, get under the sectional record time. Seeing a school record here for Maggie Love in her last meet here at Carmel High School. I mean, what a race.
It was a pretty incredible race.
Yeah,
I do
absolutely.
say so myself. So for Connor Bradley, Jacob Wiener, Paige Zerker, Brooke Zerker, Elise Tempe, and all the rest of our CHTV crew here at Carmel High School, we thank you for tuning in. The state championship next week will not have spectators, so that will be broadcasted by the IHSA Champions Network. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great rest of your Saturday here from Carmel High School.